bit of housekeeping to run you through. The AMX Sim Racing World Championship then, Season 6 overview. We started, of course, on September 7th. We will end in November 17th, so about a month and a week away. We've the most races in a year, and we have a fabulous variety of car and track combinations. This is the AMX15 format, and this is our third AMX15 event. We have a 20-minute qualifier, and then we reverse the top 15. We'll have a full reverse grid tonight because I believe we have 14-ish drivers. And then we have the 90-minute Heat 1, a monstrous event. And then another top 15 reverse grid and a sprint event, 30 minutes for Heat number 2. The prize events, of course, the same for every standing. Driver camps required as always, and if you are a driver you can join via the link on the AMX Discord or AMXRace.com. Balances over $100 are paid out each month. We, of course, race on Saturday and Sunday. We'll be running you through them, or the times for them, in a couple of moments. But if you want to race at any of them times, you can by signing up on AMXRace.com. So the schedule then, all of these times in GMT, of course. This weekend we had AMX 0 and AMX 5 yesterday at 5:50 PM and 7:10 PM, and then today we have AMX 15 at 5:50 PM. Next week we'll have AMX 0 and AMX 5 at the same times on the Saturday, but we will have AMX 10, the double TCR, continuing our TCR World Tour. That'll be at 5:50 PM and 7:30 PM, and then the next week back to AMX 15, so on, so forth. So the prize pool then for this evening, remember, of course, it is equal for all the races apart from the fastest lap bonus, but if you take, oh sorry, no, it isn't equal for all the races. I'm forgetting the AMX 15 format. It is $30 if you take a pole or you win the sprint event. It is $90 if you win the mini endurance race. So qualifying and heat 2 is 30, 20, then it is 18, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then 5 for the fastest lap in the sprint. Heat number 1 though, our mini endurance, is 90, 60, 54, 36, 33, then it's 30, 27, 24, 21, 18, 15, 12, 9, 6, 3, and then 15 for the fastest lap. If you want to take part in one of these events, you must have a minimum road iRacing of 4,000. That's because we hand out a total of $750 per race. And fabulous circuit that you can see on display tonight to take you through a little bit more about it and a little bit more about the car. It is Kevin Garcia.
Man, this is definitely one of my favorite tracks and car combinations. I mean, just the track itself only being open a few times out of the year. Of course, Bathurst, Mount Panorama is a public road throughout most of the year, only able to be opened for several times throughout the year. And of course, one of those big ones, VA Supercars, located just outside the city of Bathurst, New South Wales in Australia. It was opened back in 1938. Underwent a bit of a change of the track from what it originally was, and now leads to about 6.2 kilometers or just under 4 miles. So definitely a bit of a longer track. That's why it's such a treacherous place to be at. Not just a battle against your fellow drivers, but a battle against the mountain itself. And of course, what would be a great race out at Mount Panorama if it wasn't going to be for the V8 Supercars? Just a natural V8, big honking horsepower. I mean, again, I think that's two big things Americans and Australians share, is our love for our V8 cars. So these guys coming in at about 644 horsepower, going down to those rear wheels, only weighing about 1395 kilograms. So a little bit heavier than some other cars, but that's what you can expect from having a big V8 in the front, going through a sequential gearbox. So these cars, they used to have a H pattern shifter, and the previous gen, they ended up switching it through into a sequential, which is what we are driving out here today. So not the current run of supercars, but I'm sure iRacing will be updating that sooner than later. But Evan, I think it's about time that we check in with our drivers in qualifying.
I think so. We are almost halfway through the qualifying session here at the famous mountain, and on top of it is actually not the championship leader of this class. It is Juan Nats, who's currently quickest in qualifying. Gael Valero, of course, won our mini enduro last time out in Monza in unbelievable fashion, and what a job it was by him to take that one. Didn't quite take the sprint win, but don't think he'll mind too much after getting $90 deposited into his PayPal account. But fabulous circuit. This Mount Panorama track, of course, will be running you through different points and different bits of history throughout the evening for this fabulous circuit. But we are on board with the car now. You will get a good look up the hill. Obviously, we'll do a track guide at some point as well. We have plenty of time to discuss things with you tonight. Of course, we'll be asking you for your questions and comments throughout the evening. You can do so on both our chats, YouTube and Twitch. Make sure you pop a subscription on either of those, or a follow on Twitch, I think it's called. Yes, and then chat away to myself and Kevin. But 9 minutes into qualifying, out of the 20, Juan Nat is quickest in the Holden, and then it is Gael Valero in second. I suppose what's a little bit different from last week, Kevin, or certainly our commentary last week, is there's only two different types of cars in this V8 class.
Yeah, so that's one thing that I mean, I'm not really sure I'd say a bit controversial. Like I said, the two biggest manufacturers in supercars, Ford and Holden. Of course, now the current gen cars being Chevrolet and Ford, since, of course, unfortunately, Holden no longer manufacturing their vehicles. But again, this was kind of seen as kind of the last big ones. Of course, they have the ZB Commodore, which some people love, some people don't. I mean, it really depends who you ask. I have an Aussie friend of mine too that I work with just saying, you know what, the ZB Commodore, that's not a Commodore. That was the last Commodore, was the previous one. So, I mean, like I said, it just depends who you ask. But nonetheless, still, it's some great times out here so far. Already seen one playing 203s, 204s. Those are just absolutely blazing lap times around Mount Panorama. It is a little bit cooler out here today, so that's definitely adding to those fast lap times. Right now, it's about 19 degrees out there, which is about 66 degrees Fahrenheit. So a bit on the cooler side for being in New South Wales.
Yeah, Australia kind of a little bit mixed weather. Some parts of it very warm, very hot. Others like a little bit of rain. This man we are looking at is Josh Perween, and this is our local for this evening. In case you couldn't tell by the livery, of course, Josh from Perth, Australia, and he'll be looking to try and win around his home track. A little bit of local knowledge, of course, Josh will have, especially given that he is Australian. Probably has visited the race maybe once or twice, but definitely will be looking to school the South Americans and the Europeans who are here this evening, because this is his backyard and this is his playground. Currently 5th in qualifying, but he is going to be looking to just to get a little bit closer to the top of the order. I gotta say, Kevin, though, we have the top 9 within a second around a 6.2 kilometer circuit. That's quite impressive.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, out here, there's so many places around here with so many turns. Just as I say that, we see Ruben Llorente just getting a little bit sideways there coming out of the cutting. But yeah, I mean, there's such a long track. It's definitely one of those that you really have to memorize a lot of places where you can push it, where you should be a little bit safer. And we should really be interesting to see when these guys go, because typically once you start going up the mountain and heading back down especially, you do not really want to be going side by side in these cars. I mean, quite honestly, really any cars. We get to see the 12 hours of Bathurst as well with the GT3s. That is just as much chaos. But with these cars having no traction control, no ABS, I mean, it's purely just all of that grip and all of that driver skill, having to put it down. So, like I said, especially going into turn number 2, one thing that I found out just, running the Bathurst 1000 last weekend in iRacing, you really have to know how much you can cut on this course, how much you can really just do it. The curbing around here can be probably one of your biggest enemies. So although some courses you want to cut that curb just a little bit, try and get, just maybe a couple tenths, get a better run out. Out here at Mount Panorama, those curbings can just send you straight into a wall. But like I said, so far it seems like a lot of these guys are very comfortable out here. A few of the guys out in the 205s, 206s, I mean, those are still amazing lap times for Mount Panorama in the supercars.
Yes, as we see Roberto Frizer coming towards camera shot, he is in the Ford Mustang. two cars, of course, Ford Mustang GT, Holden ZB Commodore, or ZB Commodore, depending on what way you like to say that letter. We won't get into a debate over it with the chat. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see which one is quicker, because of course they're both dead even, but always one car will be slightly marginally better. But I don't think it's going to make much of a difference here tonight, thankfully. Remember, of course, we'll have a big discussion about strategy in the race as well, but that's for later. We've got 7 minutes of qualifying left. That's about 2 laps maybe at a push if you want to get 2 very good laps in with a cool. So it'll be interesting to see, can anyone recreate maybe some famous Bathurst pole laps? I know one that I love is Scott McLaughlin's famous pole around the Mount Panorama Hills. Would be very intriguing to see, can anyone produce some magic like that, because this track is known for its magic.
Absolutely, and like you mentioned, that was Scott McLaughlin. So, I mean, it's great too, because I've seen, especially in the U.S. now, getting a couple drivers kind of pulled from the V8 Supercars, bringing them over either IndyCar or NASCAR. So it's great to see some of these guys that got their start somewhere else, kind of using their skills into the U.S. I know usually a lot of people worldwide, they kind of look towards Formula One. Kind of really everyone says that is the pinnacle of motorsport, but I mean, yeah, that really depends on who you ask. I know a lot of people would say something like this when you're out in a supercar at Bathurst might be a little bit more difficult. And speaking of difficult, there we can just see Josh Perween just getting a little bit squirrely trying to practice his pit entrances. So that's one thing we're going to have a lot of today. Of course, being a 90-minute race, these guys are going to have to pit. So not just it being really mandatory, but hey, you're not going to have enough fuel out here. Like we said, huge V8s burning through a lot of fuel. Seen from the previous Bathurst 1000 that happened last weekend, it seems that these guys can kind of get roughly between 24, 25 laps before they really need to pit. So again, that's kind of the pit window out here, about 24, maybe even up to 26 laps if they're really being conservative, but it should be interesting nonetheless. I'm just loving the liveries out here today, Evan.
Oh yeah, they're absolutely beautiful. We have some brilliant liveries out here, I have to say. Yeah, it was interesting to see Josh Perween's pit entrance, because that brings me nicely to another talking point potentially for the race. The pit entrance is an absolute nightmare here, and you'll know that, Kevin, from having raced it last weekend. I know it from different types of racing as well. It's an absolute nightmare to do, especially when you're on worn tyres. Maybe you're trying to push it and not lose time. You can definitely throw away your race in the pit entrance at Bathurst. Oh, look at that livery.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like you said, going into the pits as well as coming out of the pits. I mean, just getting on fresh tires. These cars having no traction control either. Usually once you kind of start getting up to speed, even the pit speeds, it's pretty low out here. But yeah, I've seen that plenty of times. These guys getting a little bit too eager to come out of the pits as well and just foot through the floor, end up spinning out into the wall, having to pretty much pit the next lap just to get some of those minor repairs done. But here we are right now. Pedro Dean, kind of sitting in the middle of the pack now, has about a 2:04.7. So still a pretty decent pace out here. Again, it's going to be a lot different once all of the cars are bunched up, especially right now going through the downhill section of Mount Panorama, coming out of Forest Elbow and heading out onto Conrad Straight. This is where we can expect to see probably the majority of passes happen out here. Again, we have 14 drivers on the grid right now, so about half of what we were seeing for the iRacing Bathurst 1000. I believe those were split in about 30 car splits every single time. So there's going to be a little bit more room to, I would say a little bit more room for error, because the mountain out here is just absolutely vicious. But these guys are going to have a little bit better pace in terms of being able to pass each other. Everyone's still only a couple seconds between majority of the drivers. Like we said, towards the front of the pack, still less than a second between all of our top 8 drivers.
Bonblade Nat is absolutely flying through Sector 2. Went purple. He's flown through the S's as well. Just needs a good couple of sectors here. He might be able to confirm pole position for the AMX Bathurst AMX15 race in towards the chase then. Turn number 20, 21 and 22. Down towards Murray's Corner, which is the final corner on this circuit. Blade Nat, pretty decent in the 5th sector as well. He'll be just looking to round it off here in sector number 6 and playing that towards the start-finish line then. Number 89 in the Holden Commodore. Oh, he will extend the margin. 2:03.728. I would be surprised if Gael Valero is able to beat that, because as good as Gael is, that's a brilliant lap around the mountain.
Absolutely, and I mean, a lot of these guys definitely coming over from the GT3 have a little bit of familiarity. Like I said, some of these guys have ran the Bathurst 12 hours, so they're very familiar with the layout of the mountain. Especially some of these guys we've seen kind of hop back and forth between Assetto Corsa Competizione or even other sims that have Mount Panorama in it. Again, iRacing, not the most current scan of Mount Panorama, but like I said, the track layout has not changed in so many years that this has pretty much been the exact same, minus, you know, a bit of different advertisements on the side of the walls. But still, coming out here, you can see just how close these drivers have to get to the wall out here to really extract everything from it. We got to see that yesterday for AMX5. We're out at Long Beach, and that's another one of those tracks. Again, you just have to really be barely touching the walls if you want to be competitive out here.
I'm surprised Gael has not PB'd through the S's and in towards the dipper, because he was very, very quick. A little bit of a slipstream in towards the chase and down towards the final couple of corners, but it's not quite looking like a pole lap for Valero. Slides the car out of turn number 22, and he really is giving it a good go to try and overtake Juan playing that. Let's see what he can do for the final corner then. 0.37 to beat Valero towards the start-finish line, slipstream included. Is there going to be an improvement for the Frenchman? No, there isn't. 2:03. Oh, sorry, there is an improvement, but he's not able to beat Juan playing at 2:03.9, and that will see the battle for pole here decided at Mount Panorama. It will be Juan playing that who will start from, well, he won't start from the front. He will take the pole position prize pool, however.
And there, another beautiful shot of the Vodafone Ford Mustang going into the pit. So, yeah, like I said, a lot of guys out here. I'm really curious because I think out here, again, the big thing, these guys used to a lot of other cars, even if they're used to NASCAR, Cup cars, doing road courses out here. The V8 Supercars just drive a little bit more unique than kind of anything else out there. So I think the guys that have put in a lot more practice, it will show out here today, especially the ones that participated in the Bathurst 1000 and just having that much more practice coming into this weekend. But there we go, folks. Your BenQ session winner, Juan Blanat. Evan, he's definitely been one to watch all weekend.
Yep, he is. Keep an eye on the Argentine. Very quick pole lap. He is your BenQ session winner. Gael Valero then in second. Jackson Rosenje in third. Ralph Benitez in fourth. Josh Perrine in fifth, the Australian. Then it is Tobias Soriano in sixth. Pedro Dean in seventh, with Victor Miranda in eighth. Fabrizio Belziti starts in ninth, with Ruben Lorente Jr. in 10th. And Bruno De Caro in 11th. Roberto Frizer in 12th. And it is Roman Pascucci, Gerard Sardeni Jr. So Sardeni will start on pole. He will start on a pole position for the Bathurst AMX15, or the AMX15 Bathurst. I don't know, I think we need a little bit more of a catchy name for it. But he will start quickest, or he will start from the pole, I should say. Not quickest, but will start from the pole alongside Roman Pascucci. This could be a very interesting one, Kevin.
Absolutely, and yeah, I mean, I think I made the joke yesterday too. We were doing about 90 minutes, so that's roughly about 25% of it. So yeah, do we call it the Bathurst 90 minute, the Bathurst 1.5, the Bathurst 250? But nonetheless, now
yeah, 250, I think.
As all the drivers start hitting the grid, we're moments away, and the great thing, the start out here can really make or break. Being out in front can absolutely be beneficial out here. So like we said, we do have that reverse grid going on. So it's going to be a little bit harder for those guys to make their way through the pack. Like we said, there's not very many passing opportunities out here. So they're going to have to be extremely patient. But at the same time, I mean, really just have to see when they come in for the pits. Again, not too many times do you see the overcut or undercut. But there we go, folks. As the green flag flies, we see tire smoke going from your pole position. Getting past already, dropping 2 positions, but that's led the other couple drivers going up. Roman Pascucci and Roberto Frizer now leading the pack up the mountain.
We go racing at one of the world's most famous circuits. Brilliant start for Pascucci, already into the race lead, already has a brilliant run mountain straight, or up the mountain straight, up and down the mountain straight. You can see a bit of movement in the backpack as well. There's a lot of drivers looking for spaces very early on here. You don't want to get bunched up behind a slower car heading through the mountain section. And we're rounding down towards the cutting, turn number 3. There's been incidents at AMX here in the past. The two Vodafone cars pushing each other through. That's 4th and 5th place drivers. That is Fabrizio Belziti and Bruno De Carmo. But this is a brilliant start from Roman Pascucci, who has got away very well and leads into the trickiest part of the circuit for the first time.
Yeah, and I've seen him move up through the cutting there. Again, very dangerous to go too wide through there, but it looked like Josh Perween was feeling very comfortable. And right now, too, as we hit Skyline, starting our descent down the mountain, this is another place we see so many crashes, both in iRacing as well as real life. I mean, even just during the qualifying for the Bathurst 1000 this week, and we already had so many incidents coming down the mountain, going through the dip. Now, as we are getting ready to come out of Forest Alba, you have to really get a good exit. It looks like from Roman Pascucci, Roberto Frizer, they've gotten an excellent exit out of there now, back onto Conrad Stray. So this is where a lot of the slipstream comes into play. We'll see who is able to make the moves coming out of here, going into the kink, out into the chase. We'll have to see again. Like I said, it can be a great passing opportunity, but also be very dangerous. Fabrizio Belziti now up one more position.
Belziti breaking on the grass. He's been caught napping slightly, and Victor Miranda's looking to try and make a move as well. 3 abreast leading the chase for the first time. Unbelievable. None of these guys giving an inch. We'll have a few very early pitters. 3 cars into the pit lane. Miranda, Dean, Resenge, all taking an early box. Rounding through, though, the final corner, Murray's corner, to start the second lap here at Mount Panorama. The chaos is already starting for AMX's edition of this famous race. There's contact with Perween. Josh Perween's been given a real shove, and he's 2, potentially 3, potentially 4 places, heading up the mountain straight down towards Quarry. Not an ideal start for Perween. Still up 2 positions, but losing ones that he had already gained. He's going to have to work back here. Oh, late weave in front. Very late weave. Ruben Lorente trying to make the move stick on Bruno De Carmo, a man who was a big talking point after last time's AMX15 race in Monza. Josh Perween round the outside. Oh, Perween, brave, knows the circuit well. There was a bit of contact with the wall for one of the cars there. I think that might have been Juan Nats who made a bit of contact with the wall. The bolts in there, and there's a slide in towards the wall at Griffin's Mount. That is a bit of contact, that is a bit of a collision. Damage, however, I feel has just been escaped.
And you can see Ruben Llorente right there just flashing his light, saying, all right, these guys are starting to get a bit aggressive out here. Like we said, it's an endurance race. You don't win it in the first couple of laps, but these guys are already trying to get their elbows out, really just trying to force their way to the front of the pack. Again, that's the great thing about having a reverse grid out here, is you have the fastest drivers in the back really just having to make any kind of move that they want to, if they want to get up into podium contention. And sometimes things like that happen. So these guys all around are just really going to have to be extremely defensive out here, extremely aggressive. But so far, so good. The mountain is not taking out anyone just yet. But like we said, with as aggressive as these drivers are already showing, I wouldn't doubt it if we start to see some chaos unfold in the next couple of laps.
Here's De Carmo and Sardeni. De Carmo last of the late breakers. Sardeni wants the outside for the chase, and that's very nice from Gerard Sardeni. Not able to hold on, though. Just about loses it. Here's Josh Perween looking to try and make the move down towards the left-hander on Gerard Sardeni. Perween, he's going to try the up and under in towards Murray's corner, and there's a bit of a slide on exit for Gerard Sardeni. So the Holden Commodore of Josh Perween has got a brilliant run down towards turn number 1, the hell corner, but this race has not quite been hell for Josh Perween just yet. Although, no, it has! No, it has! That's round through that corner. Josh Perween is off the circuit. The locals will not like that one. Australia's hope of winning this race is gone just a tad downhill.
The commentator's curse strikes once again, just as you're praising how good Josh Perween is doing. Unfortunately, getting spun out. I'm sure we'll catch a replay on that one here in a bit. But right now, too, still great battles going on through the middle of the pack. Sardeni, Valeros, Toby Soriano. These guys, we got to see them really battling it out yesterday. The GT4s out at Long Beach. So again, I think some of these guys had a bit of a grudge match to settle out here, coming in for Bathurst today, just saying, all right, you know what, I didn't get the race I wanted yesterday for AMX5. I'm coming in here letting nothing be unturned. Definitely these guys, yeah, I can see chat going up now. This car is a war machine, absolutely. Couldn't really put it better in any other way. I mean, the only thing making it more of a war machine is if we gave it more horsepower, more downforce, but nonetheless, still, great job going down. So, one driver taking out another. It is not the mountain this time around that has taken out someone. It has been these guys just really trying to push it as hard as they can, and that's what happens out at Mount Panorama. But right now, still a great job of defending from Toby Soriano. We'll see if Gael Valero can get the slipstream now coming on to Conrad Straight.
Looking back from the Argentine of Tobias Soriano and Gael Valero, winner in Monza, championship leader here in the AMX15 Championship. He's going to be looking for P5 here. Big launch down the inside by Gael Valero. Utter commitment from the Frenchman, and that is just bravery mixed with skill, and it's made a fine drink for Gael Valero, and he is up and ahead of Tobias Soriano now, and dare I say he won't look back. Maybe Soriano run in the slipstream. That'll increase the 635 brake horsepower of this machine, 0 to 60 or 0 to 100 kilometers in 3.2 seconds, this car, so it's no slouch heading up the mountain straight down towards Quarry. Bit of blinking for both of these, but there'll be no issues there. Like, yeah, just look, you can see that's ridiculous. 294 kilometers an hour top speed for Gael Valero that last time round. That is unbelievable. Victor Miranda had some problems though. He's 58 seconds back and not necessarily lapping the quickest, so Miranda might be down and out of this one very early on here, which is a real shame given the duration of this race. But what a hectic opening first 4 laps here at Bathurst.
And one thing that, I mean, just amazes me from these guys, they're still putting down crazy lap times out here, even though they're still battling it out. Again, everyone out here still running the same setup, so we do have pretty much the fixed setup for all of these guys, trying to make it a little bit more even, a little bit more competitive. Not going to come down to which guy has the best setup, able to inch out just a little bit more. But again, I mean, I know that's been a talking point for some people is, hey, we are getting some of the best drivers out here, some of the best teams in all of sim racing. Should we have a series where, yeah, it's just completely open, a little bit more akin to some of the pro series going on out there, a little bit more related to how we do it for the iRacing official series. So, I mean, definitely we love to hear the feedback on everything. Of course, that's why we have so many different classes out at AMX. And again, if you guys want to get out here and get in on the action, feel free to head over to amxrace.com. Check out the schedule. We're just over halfway through, but there we can see the incident going on between Josh Perween and, looks like just a bit of a slide again. These guys super close to each other, but unfortunately, Josh Perween just getting taken out. That rear fender just getting clipped and sending him into a spin. Luckily, it looks like there's not too much damage as now he's still in 9th place, showing decent pace out there. So we'll have to see when he takes the pits as well, if any of these guys have any optional pit repairs to do. I don't really think that they will. Like I said, these cars are pretty much tanks out here. They can take quite a bit of a beating. Scraping these walls, I already see quite a bit of scrapes on the side of some of these guys towards the front of the pack.
Fastest lap of the race is being traded around nicely, and it will be traded, I think, until late race. It currently is in the hands of Juan Blaine Nat for the Rincon Racing team. He's currently in 7th position and was your quickest man in qualifying before we did the reverse grid. The race leader, ever Roman Pescucci, is starting to succumb to the pressure a little bit from Roberto Friser, one of the newer drivers here in AMX, and I tell you what, he's doing a stellar job up the mountain so far. Running the number 4 this week is Roberto Friser, and he had a pretty decent week last week, especially in the double TCR races around Watkins Glen and Daytona. But winning at Bathurst is different, and he's going to want to do that here, and he's looking to just put the Argentine of Roman Pescucci under a little bit more pressure as they head down in towards Skyline and the S's for the 5th time of 45. What a hectic race this is going to be for the drivers wise, because after 5 laps they've been on the limit. They'll be hoping for a break. There's no break. There's not going to be a break for well over an hour.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, usually that's one thing that I've seen the strategy, just but depending on how you want to run it, Bathurst 1000 is a team race, so you see at least a couple of drivers getting into the seat, so it should definitely be a little bit different for some of these guys. I know the strategy from the Bathurst 1000, a lot of times we'll just see, okay, every other stint we're going to end up switching drivers, but these guys are pretty much going to have to do at least a couple of stints. Like we said, a full 90 minutes, it definitely makes you work for the job out here at Mount Panorama, especially in these cars. You have to be extremely focused the entire time, a full 90 minutes of just, like I said, absolute focus. And absolutely, I'm sure a lot of these guys after the race are going to start feeling a little bit sore, depending on how much force feedback they have going on. So right now, though, Roberto Friser, like we said, he's been doing really good so far in all of the AMX classes that he's joined this season. Came in a little bit later on, like we said, compared to some of the veterans, but he's definitely showing that if he sticks in this one, he's absolutely going to be a veteran of AMX. As there we can see Roman Pascucci. What happened in lap 4, just a little bit late on the brakes, knew he was going to absolutely bin it if he didn't just go take that shortcut, get the slowdown, and make sure, like we said, survival is really the most important thing out here at Mount Panorama.
If you want to know how good these drivers are, in that little picture-in-picture and replay, Roman Pascucci made an absolute botch job of turn number 11 and 12. Absolute nightmare. Still nailed his apex for turn number 13, miraculously. So that goes to show how good these guys are out here. And traditionally, there'd even be more prestige drivers than Roman Pascucci racing, but Pascucci's put a really, really good first 6 laps down here, and he'll be looking to continue this on and try and win at Bathurst. We've had a lot of pitters so far. Gael Valero, the latest, he bailed into the pit lane at the end of the lap. So Valero, right, I think he's the leader. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do. Ron playing Nat here. He was your pole sitter in quotation marks. He was the quickest in qualifying, but did have to start at the back because of the reverse grid. The Argentine right on the back of Roberto Friser there, heading out of Forest's elbow on the straight down towards turn number 20, 21 and 22, the chase section of the circuit, just reaching 260, 270 kilometers per hour. Holds to the right hand side and will blast past Roberto Friser. The Holden Commodore is excelling around this track. Race leader third and fourth is the hold in, and there's a mistake for Soriano. That is Tobias Soriano, who has ran on at the chase, and he will have to rejoin. Oh, sorry, no, apologies. It's Roberto Friser that's ran on at the chase, not Tobias Soriano, so Friser will rejoin in 6th position. Bruno De Carmo makes his way to the pit box.
Yeah, and still how close most of these drivers still are through the first 7 laps out here, or sorry, the first 6 laps out here. These guys really just, again, it's kind of anyone's race towards the front of the pack. Usually you see a lot of these guys within the top 5. Really, it depends on how well they can keep it clean out here. Again, I see someone in chat, the WRC line takes another victim. Yeah, I'm one of those people that I've taken that WRC line more times than I would like to admit. So definitely, yeah, I do better on dirt than out here on the pavement. But that's a topic for another time. Out here, we have Juan Blenat, currently 3rd place. So again, he had an excellent qualifying, able to really get about 2/10 faster than everyone else. So we know Juan Blenat has outright pace. Definitely currently in, he's in podium contention, but he definitely has the pace to get back up there into P1. Again, right behind Fabrizio Balziti, another driver that we see. It's an Argentine 1, 2, 3, and 4 so far. Again, a lot of these guys racing for different sim racing teams, but there's a little bit of pride out here whenever you go to another racetrack in another country that you want to work together just a little bit, but at the same time, they all want that win, and they're all very capable of it. Roman Pascucci still in 1st place, about just over a second over Fabrizio Balziti. So Balziti will not have that draft now coming out of Forest Elbow onto Conrad Straight. And there's Juan Blenat now going side by side, trying to get the run into the chase.
As the Aussies might say, Blenat is wheeling it around Mount Panorama. He's up to 2nd, and dare I say will catch and pass Pascucci soon. Belziti, you can just see hitting monstrous top speeds in towards the chase. Has to be early on the brakes and just round through the left and right handers smoothly, because it's a long race. You've got to manage your car, you've got to manage yourself, you've got to manage your mentality. If you're on lap 7 of 45, you see Blenat overtake you, and you're like, oh, race done. What am I going to do now? Woe is me. You'll never win an endurance race, ever. You've got to keep your mindset cool. You've got to keep yourself. You've got to know that anything can still happen. This race will not be decided until we round Murray's Corner on lap 45 out of 45, and whoever does that first, well, they're most likely to be the winner. And even still, it's probably not decided then. That is the beauty of endurance racing. That is the beauty of Bathurst. You might have seen IMSA yesterday. Me and Kevin were talking before the stream. You might have seen what even can go wrong there. Your headlights might turn off, and that might end up in you disqualified. Anything can happen here in endurance racing. And although Bathurst wouldn't be one of your traditional races, 90 minutes of AMX is an endurance race in my books, and in the officials' books, because it is called the Mini Enduro. So, yeah, you got to just keep yourself cool and calm. Especially when the walls just seem to be getting closer, and they've got a little bit too close with Pascucci. Definitely there's going to be some green paint left on that one on the entry into McPhillamy Park.
So definitely these cars, I mean, they're pretty tough cars, so you can get away with that a few times. You definitely don't want to keep doing that over and over, because eventually you will start gaining a little bit of damage that will affect your aero come some of these straights. So right now, a lot of these guys, yeah, you really have to kind of get used to how well balanced are these cars, especially it's so crazy driving these from the Bathurst 1000. Whenever you have a full tank of fuel to whenever you're even about half a tank of fuel, how vastly different these cars feel. But these guys right now, Juan Blanat going for the move. We'll have to see, and he looks like he's going to get it very easy going into the chase. So, great move from Juan Blanat, like we've seen from qualifying, has the pace, and now is in that top spot. We'll see. It's going to come down to his strategy from here on out, because I have a feeling Roman Pascucci's really going to have to hustle the car around this track if he wants to get back into first place. So, Evan, I mean, what do you think the pit strategy is going to be for most of these guys out here today?
Survive. That's what the strategy is. Don't crash your car. Just pit when you want to. Just pit when your tires feel like they're screaming. Hit the wall 3 or 4 times and then decide to change your tires. I think that's the best bet.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, hey, you got to hit the wall equally on both sides. So just in case you get a little bit of steering damage, your alignment gets out, you know, just hit it the other way. I know that's what I had to do last week, and unfortunately, it wasn't on purpose, but hey, when your steering's a bit damaged, sometimes you just can't take the corners how you want to, and you end up on the other side of the wall. And hey, if you get lucky, straightens it back out. But still right now, Juan Blanat leading the pack of the Argentinian drivers. Juan Blanat first, Roman Pascucci second, Fabrizio Balziti in third, Kobe Soriano in fourth. So we right now lap number 9 of 45 out here at Bathurst. Again, like I said, it's going to be probably, if they are on a full tank of fuel, going to be roughly between 24 to 26 laps that these guys will probably end up taking their pit stop. So not quite just yet, maybe about halfway through in their stints now, a little bit less than halfway through. It's really seeing how much these guys can push all the way to the end. I think the big thing is going to come down to, are you going to start feeling a little bit tired towards the end of the 90-minute race? Because that's when people start making mistakes. Again, you really want to push it as hard as you can early on, just because you know you're going to be getting tired out here without having an extra driver to really take place, stretch your legs a bit, get some water, maybe hit the bathroom, come back in. Again, also out here, having a spotter can definitely help to look behind. Once you hit the mountain, if you know, okay, a yellow flag comes out, there's a caution, there's a crash, anything that is unexpected, having a spotter can definitely help. So far so good out here. We've only seen a couple of small incidents going on right now. Josh Perween, one of those getting involved earlier. And here we go, folks. Some of these guys already hitting the pits in the lead.
That's peculiar. 3 in the same lap. You don't usually get that, but lap 10 of 45, maybe a tad bit early. We'll see what the 3 of them can do. In terms of pit stops, we have had a lot of drivers come into the pits already, actually. And we will see where they funnel out in. There's been pit stops for all but the front 2 so far here in this race, as you can see the graphics coming up on your screen just as I said it, but there's been pit stops for all but the front 2. The leader of the pitters is El Valero, so we will see, or the leader of the pitters actually I should say is yes, it is Guy El Valero. Here he comes, rounding through the final corner of Murray's Corner, down towards the Hell Corner, and it's looking like Guy El Valero is going to take the lead of the race. Almost an inevitable conclusion in any AMX event is that this man will eventually end up in the race lead. Guy El Valero once again is leading a Mini Enduro.
Yeah, and I'm starting to wonder with these guys, I'm starting to think with how many people have already hit the pits that they did not start with a full tank of fuel. So these cars capable about, I believe, 110 or 111 liters of fuel out here on a full tank. So I think that's why they're pitting now around, like I said, up to lap 10, the majority of the guys, except for Fabrizio Balziti, Roberto Frizer. Gael Valero took his pit stop early on. That's definitely going to play out for how much you can get out of these cars. Like I said, definitely Gael Valero showing his veteran status out here, really just plotting and planning. I know we've seen this season, he's not really joining as many of the AMX 0 races. That way he can focus on the AMX 5 races. But even so, so much more. English is hard, folks. Even so much more out here. Gael Valero, I know he's been putting in a little bit of practice for this race. Again, when we start putting bigger prizes on the line for this, especially in heat number 1 being the longer of the 2 races we got going on, heat number 2 being the sprint race, we have these guys really trying to focus. What is it going to take? Where's going to be the pit stop? So I expect it to be about 2 pit stops out here for this first heat.
Quick question from the chat saying, is Ford faster than Holden? No, theoretically. They both have the same specs here in the 2019 Supercars class, but Ford here seems to be driven better, or it seems to be easier to drive at least. But 2 of them are in the pits now. Fabrizio Belziti, Roberto Frizer, and we'll see where they come out. I imagine it'll be behind Blaine Natt and Pascucci and that crew, because they are pitting later, and the undercut seems to be the better strategy. But we thought Monza was going to be a 1-stop 2 weeks ago, and it ended up being a 2-stop. So I wouldn't say this is the last time we're going to see these guys in the pit lane. Through goes Gael Valero, and now the Frenchman is not in the provisional race lead, he's in the actual race lead.
And just like that, so Gael Valero with the early pit strategy paying off for him, as he is now running into first place again. Like we said, I expect there to be about 2 pit stops out here, so Gael Valero is in an excellent position to just get out there, have some clean air, no one's in the draft behind him, set down some blazing fast lap times. But again, like we said, Juan Blainot is in that 3rd place position. He was best, and ooh, a beautiful move right there. Roman Pascucci taking that inside line, just absolute textbook, able now to hold on to 4th place. Ralph Benitez is right behind him, however. Still not too far back. We'll have to see where these guys, again, that's probably going to be the biggest thing out here that can change the tide at any given moment's notice, is you want to get as close to the wall. And saying that, just looking where the camera is, where these guys really are, a lot of straight marks so far on some of these walls. So like I said, we'll have to see. I don't think I've seen Amir getting taken out. Oh, just like that, Roman Pascucci absolutely just sending it too hard into the side of the wall. He's going to be feeling that. That one looks like that one might have actually caused a bit of damage there, Evan.
Surely it has to. The Holden is indestructible. This would be a great advertisement if they were still making their cars, but Roman Pascucci has slapped that. Oh, there has to be a bit of damage there. That's not a normal way to enter that corner. Pascucci has been struggling since probably about lap 4 or 5. He's been a little bit slidey entering and exiting some of the corners, and this gives real motivation to Ralph Benitez behind.
Yeah, looking at that too. Definitely looking like his steering might just be a little bit off right now, but still going for the battle for 2nd place. Juan Blainot, Jackson Senji. Of course, Jackson Senji right behind in that beautiful Coca-Cola livery. We got, again, Holden and Ford. We've seen some people out there in the chat saying, hey, does the Ford have an edge out here today? Yeah, no, not really, as we can see a lot more Holdens now towards the front of the pack. I mean, there's more Holdens on the field altogether today, but definitely these guys showing great pace. Juan Blainot, though, now that he's in 2nd place, I think once he has to stop worrying about Jackson and Senji, he's really going to be able to just focus down, lock in on Gael Valero and try to start catching up. Again, during our qualifying session, like we mentioned, Juan Blainot saying the fastest lap time, Gael Valero just shortly behind him. So, as well, Jackson Senji, all of the top 3 drivers in the lead right now were your top 3 qualifiers. So, it's still, any of them absolutely have a shot at winning this race out here today.
5.8 seconds separates Gael Valero and Juan Blainat. It's Juan Blainat you're looking at in the bottom left and out on the circuit for the Rincon Racing team, and you can see him heading just up through turn number 6 and 7, Griffin's Mount, Reed Park, Frog Hollow. A lot of corner names, which is brilliant for me for my inevitable track guide in a couple of laps time, but it's not brilliant for Juan Blanat to remember all of these corners, because this is such a difficult circuit, and we cannot emphasize that enough. It has a huge racing history, and actually started as a motorbike racing facility, which is quite scary to me, to be honest, because driving a car around here is difficult enough. Imagine a motorbike. But the area's racing history dates back to the 1900s, actually. It was Dr. and I am going to butcher this, but I think it's McCarthy, who persuaded two local builders to drive from Melbourne to Bathurst to start digging out the circuit. That's about a 800-kilometre trip, not round trip, just one way, so 1,600 kilometres trip to start digging the circuit. The first race meeting here was actually on April 1938, was on the 16th of April 1938, I should say, for motorcycles. So that's a very scary, I can't emphasize how scary that is. Imagine coming off a motorbike in that mountain section.
I mean, just that too, riding motorcycles myself, I think the crazy part of my brain thinks, man, that would be amazing. Of course, I think there's something a bit wrong with me. You know, I might have a few screws loose as well. But yeah, when I hear that, I think, wow, that would be so
motorcycle
amazing.
Racers.
I mean, I think the big thing I'd be worried about is, okay, yeah, obviously I wouldn't want to be taking it too quick, but I think I'd be more worried about the police than the mountain, which I think is probably the wrong way. I respect the mountain, but at the same time, I'd want to, you know, really see what I could do out there in real life. But yeah, who knows? Hey, maybe I'll have to take a trip to Australia one of these days. Of course, catch the Bathurst 1000 in real life is definitely on my bucket list. But going back to what's going back on track right now, still Gael Valero in first place, Juan Blanat in second. He's starting to close that gap a little bit. Now you can see Sector 1, Sector 2, both Blanat and Asenje a little bit faster through those both of the first couple of sectors there. So Valero, I'm not sure, again, it's really going to come down to not making mistakes at this point. He was Valero was second fastest in qualifying by about 0.2 of a second. So if Juan Blanat is able to keep that up throughout the entire races, oh, there we see Gael Valero might have had some issues there in Sector 2, is nearly a half a second faster is Blanat.
Yeah, someone asking police on Bathurst. Yes, this is public roads for the most part. These are public roads we're racing on. And during the week, or during non-race times, there's a 60-kilometre-hour speed limit around here. There's 40 private residents on this land. You can see one of them there to your left-hand side, which would be a really nice to live. This is mostly made up of public roads. The venue here as well is used for non-racing stuff. The pit and parking was actually part of the 2023 World Athletics Cross Country Championships, where the course was to run around Mount Panorama, which was quite cool. I'm sure they did a little bit more than one lap, given it's only 6.2 kilometers, and admittedly I'd probably collapse after running that much, but these guys are cross country runners, so they do a little bit more. But back to our action here. Juan Blanat is catching Gael Valero.
Yeah, just like that. I mean, one of those camera angles, we were focusing on Juan Blanat, but it looked like there was a bit of tire smoke coming from Gael Valero. So, I mean, Gael is really trying to push it as much as he can, like he knows out here, but he's went in a few laps earlier out here. Gael Valero hit it on lap number 5, Juan Blanat hitting on lap number 9. So, Juan Blanat just a little bit fresher tires as well. However, like we said, it's kind of a bit of a balancing act. Your tires, your fuel management out here. I know these guys, if they're trying to get on a full tank of fuel, they're really going to be trying to not push it quite as much. But I think just the smoothness that Juan Blanat has shown out here all day. And there we see beautiful onboard cam from Gael Valero again. Ooh, already quite a bit of marks up from the top of the mountain. You really want to be almost not lifting at all until you hit skyline at the top of the mountain. But here we go. I think Gael Valero is just being a little bit more cautious out here. Again, this is a bit of an endurance race, folks, so you don't want to be sending it quite as much as you would if we were only going, you know, about 15, 20 laps out here. So absolutely still a great job from Gael Valero, holding on to about 4.5 second lead in first place over Juan Blanat. Juan Blanat now starting to pull away from Jackson Asenje as well.
Yeah, I have to agree with you with the whole Valero isn't really pushing it too much fact, because although he's getting close to the walls, he was definitely sliding a lot more in qualifying, and he's pushing a lot. Someone laughing at a steering wheel on the right side. obviously, that is, I would say, either a European or an American. Kevin, you drive on the left, don't you?
I do, but it's kind of weird because whenever we're doing the Bathurst 1000 last weekend in iRacing, it oddly felt very comfortable to drive on the right-hand side. So
See,
I'm
I
not
drive
sure
on the
again,
right.
that was just because... Yeah, I don't know. Again, I'm sure if I actually had my sim rig set up to where I was shifting on the left-hand side, that would have probably made it feel a little bit more weird. I still had my shifter on the right-hand side, so not too crazy out here. But yeah, I think, again, part of it might be just the track as well. It's really a lot of those right-hand turns. You really have to get super close to those right-hand walls, and I think it just felt a lot more comfortable, especially from driving some of these NASCAR tracks in iRacing as well. Same thing, you really want to get as close as you can to the concrete barriers coming out of some of the turns.
One thing I do like about left-hand drive, or driving on the right side of the road, if that makes sense, rather than driving on the left side. So your steering wheel is on the left hand, but you're driving on the right hand of the road. And this is something in America, or certainly the state of New Jersey, is that you can turn right on red lights. That's a really cool thing that we don't have over here.
Yeah, I think that's, I'd say the majority of states, as far as I know out here in the U.S., is, yeah, there's no traffic. You can turn right on red lights pretty much most places. So a few weird traffic laws. I know I've seen some people that have traveled the world, gone to places throughout Europe, and then they come back to the U.S. and like, oh yeah, I don't get it. Like, one of the big things we see is some of the roundabouts. It's so awful. So many places in the United States, people just do not understand roundabouts. So I couldn't imagine if they tried driving in other places in Europe. But enough of that rant. I'm sure back to what we got going on right now. Still a great battle right now for P number 8. We got Ruben Llorente, Bruno De Carmo, and Toby Soriano all battling it out for that P8 spot.
Korea has that rule too, seemingly, where you can turn right in the red light. I think that's really cool. I think that's a good idea. But we could do it really on left, turning left, but you know, who wants to turn left? Turning right's cool. Sorry, NASCAR. Here, this is a great battle for P8 between Bruno De Carmo, Ruben Llorente, and Tobias Soriano. And Soriano is putting Llorente under a huge amount of pressure, heading down towards the left-hander. This is Holden versus Ford, so a real classic Aussie Supercars battle. And Ruben Llorente just runs a little bit deep through the corner, but Soriano not able to get the move. You can see both drivers there on the picture, Ruben Llorente on the left, and then Tobias Soriano in the opponent cam section. Ruben Llorente quite tired at this point. It's turn number 3 and 4, the cutting. Very brave if Soriano can make the move here, but it's a huge dive down the inside. He's dummied it. Oh, that's a classic piece of racing from Tobias Soriano, and if he can pull this one off, that'll be one of the best moves you've seen here at the mountain. But he can't. Llorente defends.
And just like that, get out the highlight reels, folks, because things are starting to heat up out here in the middle of the pack. As now we see Roman Pascucci, Ralph Benitez. Again, Argentina versus Brazil out here on the mountain as well. We'll have to see. We've seen Pascucci have a hard hit going on early on, so he's still feeling the effects a little bit from that. Still holding a decent amount of pace, though. So Ralph Benitez, though, right into the slipstream. He may very well get this position up into 4th place. A bit of a gap between these guys and Jackson Sentry, so they're not focusing on that. They're just focusing on the battle at hand. And here we go to the outside. Really, I mean, Benitez setting this up going into this next couple of corners. I think he has this one in the books. Like I said, these guys keeping it clean. Unfortunately, Pascucci, Evan, I think that steering is just going to be his biggest downfall from this point on.
Tell you what, that got so close between those two, heading through turn number 20, which is the kink before the chase. It's actually the fastest corner in touring car history. That was added to the circuit in 1987. Used to just be a straight run into the chicane, but that kink is the fastest corner in global touring car racing. Benitez and Pascucci went side by side through it, and I tell you what, I think everyone but those two was scared that it might be a bad outcome. Very talented racers who are looking to continue their scrap here at the mountain, and this is Pascucci just looking to try and get back past, but not able to do so. That's actually, yeah, that's Ralph. Yeah, he is looking to get back past Ralph Benitez, but not able to do so just yet. Gap up the front coming down as well. Gael Valero and Juan Plainat. Dean just behind this battle as well for 5th. It's all bunching up nicely here We're almost at the halfway point in Panorama, and it is not decided. It's not even close to being decided.
Yeah, and I was looking there. Oh, it's Pascucci now. He's just getting a little bit loose going through some of these corners. So definitely, I mean, maybe the damage he had from a few laps ago isn't really holding on in terms of where his steering inputs are, but it's definitely wearing down those tires a little bit faster than he probably may like. Again, all the drivers have already hit one pit stop, so I'm sure a lot of these guys probably only really wanted to go into field. That's one thing I actually wasn't paying attention too much how long they were in the pit. Some of these guys 27, 30 seconds, 44 seconds. So a few of them getting a little bit of minor damage repaired, a few of them heading in there trying to get fuel. But again, definitely you want to get tires if you're going to be doing an entire stint out here, a full tank of fuel. You want to have fresh tires for that entire stint, or else towards the end of your stint, you will absolutely be sliding all over the place, going into the walls. Right here we see Juan Blanat has closed the gap to your leader, Gael Valero. So with less than a second between these guys, Juan Blanat may have the draft going up onto the mountain straight.
Let's see, I think for the first corner comes the Argentine. He's hunting down the Frenchman in front. In terms of the championship, this is first versus fourth. Juan Blanat fourth in the championship. 2 session wins for him this season. Getting to 250 kilometers per hour and then having to pile on the brakes for turn number 2. Not able to get past, but we kind of saw him as one to watch in qualifying, Kevin. It's probably been one of his best AMX performances to date.
Yeah, I mean, Juan Blanat, we've seen him a lot of other times in past seasons as well. Again, I think the focus gets put on Gael Valero so much just because he does have those championships under his belt. But definitely Juan Blanat is no one to sleep on. He's one of these guys that still is extremely consistent pretty much every time that he comes out here. I think the majority of the times that he doesn't do well in AMX is when he gets caught up in an incident. So right now, things are pretty good, and he's closed the door on Gael Valero right there. Oh, as soon as I say how consistent he is, getting a little bit sideways right there through the dip. So I mean, still looking like, hey, he could have spun out. He didn't, so he has absolute great car control out here. Now, coming out of Forest Albo onto Conrad Straight, that might have dropped him out of the draft. He was hoping to make a move here, but like we said, folks, we're only on lap number 18 of 45 out here. We got 90 minutes of Mount Panorama in heat number 1, followed by a quicker sprint race right after. So the sprint race, again, we'll have to see how much fuel these guys are using, if they'll have to pit or not during that sprint race, or if it might just be enough in the tank to get through the entire thing. So a bit different strategies may be going on out there in heat number 2, but for right now, heat number 1, the battle still ensues between Gael Valero up in first place and Juan Blanat shortly in second.
Yes, we're not even halfway through the main event of the evening. The mini enduro here in the AMX15 Championship, the 90-minute mini enduro, 45 laps of Mount Panorama. I don't think we're going to get to finish the full 45 laps. I would say we will finish on time because, well, 45 times 2, 90. We're lapping a little bit over 2 minutes, so I'd say we'll finish on time first. But still a great race we've had so far. Thoroughly, I should say, entertaining. If you have any questions for myself and Kevin, make sure to pop them in our respective stream chats and we can have a discussion about your topics of choice. But the big talking point so far is Gael Valero versus Juan Blanat. And Juan was lapping a lot quicker than Gael, but it seems like once he's got close to Gael, he's just not able to get any closer. And, as the great Murray Walker used to say, it's one thing to catch a driver, it's another thing to pass. Oh, mistake for Blanat! Into the wall! That's a big mistake for Juan Blanat, heading for Griffin's Mountain Reed Park. That is a huge error. Definitely struggling. I'd be shocked if he survives damage. Obviously, this V8 Supercar is the motorsport version of the Nokia Blocky, and it kind of breaks at nothing. But now he's 1.2 seconds behind Gael. Oh, that could have been so much worse.
Yeah, I mean, that was just an excellent save there from Juan Blanat. He's already had a couple of different places where he's had, again, this one was a little bit worse. He went right into the wall, but a couple laps ago, I mean, he just had, again, a little bit too close to those walls out here. And like we said, you want to finish first, but first you have to finish, and that is definitely what's going on right now for Juan Blanat. So Gael Valero, a little bit less pressure currently on him now. That gap is to about 1.2 seconds between Valero and Blanat. But looking at this as well, one thing we haven't mentioned yet is Josh Perween looks like he might be out of the race. So I'm not sure what happened there, if he may have gotten caught up in an incident himself. But looking like one lap down. So sometime within the last couple laps, Josh Perween now out of this race.
Very disappointing for the Aussie, and the local lad, Josh Perween, won't win the big one here at Mount Panorama, and that's very disappointing for him. Hopefully we can see him back for the sprint and see if he can, well, he'll start on pole as it stands, so hopefully we do get to see him back for the 30-minute sprint after this one. But Blenat's almost back within 1 second, and he'll be very thankful for that it wasn't a much worse collision heading into the mountain section of this famous circuit. He is still in second, and he is still within touching distance of Gael Valero. I'm surprised, in all honesty, Kevin, that we haven't seen more big crashes. The drivers have been both well behaved and very clinical.
Yeah, I mean, well, definitely from what we've seen, but looking at the timing tower, see a couple of drivers there that have fallen back quite a bit. I know someone mentioned it's something happened to Pedro Dean. Now he's sitting in 9th place. Roberto Frizer had a pretty good start at the beginning of this race, but right now has dropped quite a few positions all the way down into 11th place. And then, of course, we have Sardeni and Victor Miranda not on the lead lap currently. So Sardeni now also hitting the pit lane. So that is his second pit stop of the day. Again, there might be a little bit of drama going on towards the back of the pack that we haven't caught on camera right now. Like I said, some of these guys hitting the pits. Of course, Perween out of this race, Victor Miranda. So we might have to see if there's any highlights. And ooh, looking right there, that left side of Juan Blenat's car just absolutely starting to tear the bumper off. So definitely going to affect his top speed. He really has to make up all of that pace now going into the corners. That's really where he's going to have to make up any bit of time he can on Gael Valero, because right now as we hit Conrad Straight, it does look like Gael Valero just slowly pulling away every time we hit the straight. So Conrad Straight and up the mountain on Mountain Straight, definitely Gael Valero has the advantage right now just because his car's less damaged.
Yeah, the left side of that Holden Commodore is a little bit worse for wear for Juan Blenat. You can see scrapes all over it. There's a bit of front bumper even missing potentially. Yeah, he's looking a little bit worse for wear, is Juan. But the damage is not affecting him too bad. That's the main thing. Any race-winning car looks beautiful, as Enzo Ferrari would once say. So Juan Blenat is going to have to just keep with it, drive it out, and hope for the best. Gael Valero, though, will be very confident in front that Juan's first sort of point of attack has failed, and he wasn't able to get close enough to even try and move, let alone make one.
And looking at this here, so I mean, a lot of people kind of see Gael Valero up there saying, hey, is it that often that you see a French driver in the supercars? But quite honestly, yes, in real life, you got Alexander Primat, who of course won the 2019 Bathurst 1000 aside Scott McLaughlin. So two amazing drivers. Of course, Scott McLaughlin, a legendary supercars driver there. So it's always great whenever you be teamed up with such a legendary driver. And out here too, Gael Valero has become a legend himself within AMX. So definitely showing that anytime these guys come out on track, I remember if this was last season or the season before that, we had the GTE cars out here at Mount Panorama as well. These guys putting it down, and seemed for that race too, the Ford GTs seem to be very dominant. So Ford has a great history out here on the mountain, no matter what car class that they are in. Of course, the Bathurst 12 hours as well, doing a great job. I mean, Evan, definitely will have to keep an eye on us. Now, Blenat, it looks like that damage right now isn't really phasing him like it was before. He's really just locked in.
Oh, here we go. Big point in this race for Juan Blenat. He goes for it on the outside of the chase, and this is going to be a difficult move to get past the ace that is Gael Valero. No, doesn't go for now. Valero stays in front. Well, Juan Blenat may just have a go heading up the mountain straight for the 22nd time here in this one. We're almost at the halfway point of AMX 15, our very own Bathurst event, and he is right on the tail of Gael. Was 0.6 of a second quicker on that last lap. So Juan Blenat is now having his second point of attack here, and a little bit of blinking for Valero in front, but that should not affect them. Up the straight they go. Down towards turn number 2. They'll rise over the crest and then fall. They'll get a huge boost in straight line speed from this descent. Blenat fell from the slipstream. Valero just stays in front for now, the Argentine. Not able to get past Gael Valero, and Valero will be making his Ford Mustang GT 3 times the size it actually is heading into this mountain section. It's going to be difficult for Blaine Nat to overtake Valero here because Valero is much quicker in this part of the track.
Especially right now, you don't want to get too close to the guy in front of you just in case he makes mistakes. Like we said, at this point in the race, some of these guys have a bit of tire wear, have a bit of damage to their vehicle. So although they're really trying to push it as hard as they can, again, Juan Blaine Nat doing an excellent job of just being extremely patient now as we head down Skyline. Let's see, Juan Blaine Nat seems to have the jump on Gael Valero a little bit later on the brakes after Skyline now through the dipper. Going in, we'll have to see exactly if he gets the run out of Forest Salvo going onto Conrad Straight as he did last time. And here, perfect job sticking to the rear bumper of Gael Valero. Now, as we get onto Conrad Straight, he is right in the draft. Let's see if he tries to make the same move stick again before they hit the kink right into the chase. I think he's going to do it once again, Evan.
Here he goes. Is it going to be second time the charm for Juan Blaine Nat? Oh, he tries to go for the outside. The inside has to switch to the outside, but Blaine Nat is way more alongside this time. Who's bravest on the brakes? It's going to be Gael Valero. Big slide for Blaine Nat in the braking zone. You shall not pass, says Gael Valero. Incredible defending.
And I'm starting to wonder with how much these guys now are starting to battle it out for first place, exactly what has happened to Jackson SNJ's car there in third place. Now they already have still a very consistent 10.5 second gap between second and third place. So although these guys, I mean, they are extremely fast up towards the front of the pack, keep in mind, Jackson SNJ still had a great qualifying session. He was third overall in qualifying. So to see him drop back by nearly 10.5 seconds, definitely making you wonder, but again, that just shows the power of the draft here as we can take another replay of what happened. Juan Blaine Nat earlier on, just going up the mountain, absolutely, man, almost just blistering through there, having quite a few bangs and bumps.
I don't know how he
but like we
survived
said,
that.
absolutely. So these Holdens and Fords still showing though just how strong they are to be able to take that much of a beating and still be able to hold amazing pace. Right now, the fastest lap is still held on by Juan Blaine Nat. He had about a 2:04.38 earlier on. Now the last lap, him and Gael Valero still setting 2:05s, 2:06s. So like I said, with that damage to still be able to set a 2:06 lap time out here is just absolutely mind-boggling how great these drivers are.
They're heading down the S's towards the Dipper and Forest's Elbow. There'll be no overtake attempt on this lap from Juan Blaine Nat unless Valero muddles up his exit here. But what an unbelievable fight this is. This is great. This is so entertaining, and this is what motorsport is about. It should be difficult to overtake. You should have to use all your ability. And Juan Blaine Nat is being pushed, or he's being made drive to try and win this one. These are not great drivers, they are great racers. They're going to try and prove that here around one of the world's most famous circuits. At 23 of 45, we are technically over the halfway point, and Valero, battle will end prematurely because he's tied for the second pit stop of the day for Gael.
Again, like we've seen, Gael Valero pitted earlier than most of the drivers out there, so again, Juan Blaine Nat had about 4 laps up on him. We'll see if Juan Blaine Nat also does that out here, waiting another 4 laps to pit, or if he's really just going to try and do a little bit of fuel saving now that he's not going to have to worry about Gael Valero. But once again, I think just knowing how close these guys are to each other and up in the lead, Valero, Blaine Nat, very similar lap times at this point in the race. Gael Valero, once he starts getting those fresh tires on, though, I expect him to start getting, a little bit. Bruno DeCarmo almost breaking into the pits. I mean, like you said earlier on, Evan, going into the pits is absolutely dangerous out here at Mount Panorama.
That's what we call in the industry a whoopsie into the pit lane, and Bruno DeCarmo almost damaging his car, but he's okay. He survived. His seat might be a slightly different colour, but he survived. He will get a quick service and straight back out again. There's Gael Valero. Very long pit stop for Gael. So he's fueled the car to the end, and he will have tyres until the end of the race as well. And the Frenchman will come out in 9th place. I suppose the undercut was very powerful at the start of the race, so it's really not a bad decision at all by Gael to pit before on Blaine Nat. This is Roman Pascucci that we are on board with. He's looking back, and fellow Argentine Fabrizio Belziti. And poor Pascucci is not going to break in this race, because I think any time we've looked at him, he has had a car either right in front of him or right behind.
Yeah, that too. I mean, again, some of these guys just inching ever so much more closely to the wall. Some of them you've seen dialed it back just a little bit. I think they know that, hey, since we're only barely over halfway through this race, anything can happen to anyone, like we've already seen now. Looks like about 4 drivers no longer on the lead lap. Of course, one of those as well, Josh Perween, completely out of this race. So still, it is a battle for attrition out here, a battle for survival, as we still see now a great job of defending Roman Pascucci against Fabrizio Belziti. Belziti was showing amazing pace earlier, but like I said, just tapping some of those walls a little bit too close. You can see just the battle scars already through these guys right there on their bumpers. So luckily, it's been pretty good for the most part. I think it's, again, how close can you get? As soon as we start seeing these guys now, Roman Pascucci, Fabrizio Belziti into the side of each other, it looked like that might have been, again, a little bit of a lockup, and then Fabrizio Belziti just absolutely taking him out. So luckily, doesn't look like there's too much damage done after that incident, but that left Belziti able to get up into 2nd place.
Yeah, big mistake for Roman Pascucci. That one almost cost himself and Fabrizio Belziti big time in this race. But I think they've recovered okay. Only lost about 3 seconds from it. Blaine Nat is in the lead now. And I suppose what Blaine Nat is hoping for is that his raw pace can outpace Gael Valero's undercut. So Gael Valero will be hoping that he has enough pace after exiting the pit lane that Blaine Nat doesn't get out in front of him, but we will see. Here's Benitez. We have had a crash, a proper crash on the mountain. That is bang into the wall for Ralph Benitez. So that is what happened to him on the last lap, and then he's reversing back down. That's actually the dipper he's made the mistake in, and Forrest Sailboat. So Ralph Benitez, yeah, with a big issue there, and that's kind of our first real incident we've seen today, Kevin. The rest has all been sort of just little scrapes and battle scars here or there.
Yeah, just like that. Like we mentioned, though, we are about 25 laps into this thing right now. Again, we haven't gotten confirmation if Josh Perween ended up crashing out or if something happened else that he had to retire from this race. But great to see after from that replay that we have the rest of the drivers still holding on strong, still sticking out in this race. That's really the one thing that's so heartbreaking. Again, especially when you watch the Bathurst 1000, some of these guys to get almost all the way to the end of the race just within the last hour to end up crashing, having some sort of damage, some sort of mechanical issues that then put them out of the race. We've seen that time and time again in real life, that so many drivers being towards the front of the pack just to have an incident on the last several laps, or even just running out of fuel, and there goes their lead for the 1000. But like we said, right now, still Juan Blaine, Fabrizio Belziti. We got to see quite a few more drivers. There's about 3 or 4 drivers last lap that hit the pits as well. So Gael Valero currently leading the pack of everyone that is taking their 2nd pit stop so far. So again, Juan Blaine, we've seen 4 laps later into the pits, and Gael Valero the first time around. It's looking like he might be 4 laps later this time around again. That was Gael Valero entering the pits on lap number 23. So we'll see in the next couple of laps if Juan Blaine does the same move, hits the pits, and whether or not he's going to come out in front of Gael Valero to hold on to the lead.
I tell you what, we're lapping exceptionally quickly here in Bathurst, because we're 26 laps into the race. Blaine Nat is only lapping a second off the fastest lap of the race. It's been an unbelievable pace. We've not seen an awful lot of spins or mistakes. We haven't seen any weather. It's going to be a very, very quick AMX 15 as well. Not any quicker than it's supposed to be, but we've had an extraordinary pace. Last night's Bathurst, or this morning's, depending on where you are, or yesterday's, depending on where you are, Bathurst 1000 was actually the quickest in history. As you can see, we finally have an answer to what happened to Josh Perween. Big impact into the wall.
Just like that, yep, his entire front end just completely coming off there, spinning around a couple of times. So There's our answer. Josh Perween unfortunately crashing out of this race. That was absolutely brutal from the damage that happened there. Again, there might have possibly been enough time iffy to hit the pits and get it, but I'm thinking it was not, considering Josh Perween's usually not one to just completely drop out of a race like that. So unfortunately, one driver of the day. Will it be more than one by the end of this race? We will just have to wait and see, as well as if Josh Perween may come back for that sprint race after the endurance race. So again, heat number 2, a sprint race out here. Heat number 1, the endurance race, going about 90 minutes, is triple the points. So we're going to have to keep that in mind, as now Roman Pascucci finally hitting the pits. Again, looking how fast you can go into the pit lane without just crashing, but he gets a little bit squirrely going in there. Able to make it safely, however, now getting passed by everyone else as he is in for his second pit stop.
Almost not crashing for Roman Pascucci. There's a bit of a slide through the final part of the pit lane chicane, but be interesting to see how far he comes out behind of Gael Valero. I imagine it'll be well behind, but he does have the last pit stall, so it will be intriguing to see how far he is off the provisional race lead. Through goes Roberto Fraser. There's Gael Valero rounding past the start-finish straight and in towards turn 1. Yeah, he's going to be well in front. So Pascucci, unfortunately, seems to be out of race winning contention here, despite starting from the pole position. Or didn't start from the pole, started in the front row. That was due to the reverse grid, but still, leading from the front here can be crucial, as Kevin said. Into the pit lane, or still Pascucci into the pit lane. We've had another crash, so we are starting to see some mistakes. This is Pedro Dean, who has had a slide. That's heading out of Skyline and heading into the S's, and he just spun round. That's the same place we saw Gerard Sardeni have to crash, and unfortunately it wasn't just hot wheels for Pedro Dean. The rest of the car was hot after the impact as well.
So once again, that shows how hard that these cars are really to drive. There we see Pedro Dean now coming across into, I believe, lap number 26. So some of these guys on the lead lap. However, Juan Blenat now hitting the pits, as he's already coming up on lapped traffic. So a great time to hit the pits for him. We'll have to keep an eye out on Gael Valero, how far he is behind. But looks like Valero is roughly about half a lap behind of Juan Blenat now going into the pit. So I think Juan Blenat has this one in the bag coming out. Like we said, a lot of this comes down to just the attrition of these drivers. Make sure to keep it clean. We see a little bit of damage there getting fixed. So Juan Blenat has enough time to get some of that minor damage fixed as well. Definitely expect some blazing lap times. He still has the fastest lap time out of everyone out here. Gael Valero, however, was running about 2:04s now. His last lap of 2:06. Again, lap traffic coming into play, as well as still trying to not push it too hard, as we've seen plenty of drivers now getting taken out by the mountain.
Yep, 2 drivers into the pit lane as well, Fabrizio Belziti and Juan Blenat. And Blenat is on pit exit here. Juan Blenat might have cooked up an absolute trait. He is exiting the pit lane, and Gael Valero is just leaving Murray's corner. Juan Blenat is in the provisional race lead here at Mount Panorama. There's Gael Valero in camera shot. That is an incredible turn of events. Valero has been caught out very badly here and is now 5.6 seconds, or well more. He's 2.7, or sorry, 7.7-ish off Juan Blenat.
Yeah, looking to that too, like I said, with Gael Valero on pretty fresh tires, I think he might have made a bit of a mistake out there. He was nearly 2 seconds slower his last lap compared to the previous lap. So again, definitely going to have to keep an eye out. The mountain is a dangerous mistress, as Juan Blenat now on those fresh tires, starting to already get a little bit sideways. He goes up to the top of the mountain. A little bit of scraping on the walls, but that's what we love to see out here. These cars can handle it as long as he keeps it clean enough where he doesn't go absolutely sideways, but knowing that he has the pressure right on behind him from Roberto Fraser. Again, Roberto Fraser has only hit 1 pit stop, so he's going to have to come in very soon. Kobe Soriano currently holding on to first place, but once again, is going to have to hit the pits a second time.
Yes, so it is Tobias Soriano who leads here in Bathurst, but Juan Blenat is your provisional race leader, as we assume. Tobias Soriano will have to come into the pit lane again. Roberto Fraser is there in 3rd, and it's Gael Valero in 4th, Jackson Resenje in 5th, and then it is Fabrizio Belziti in 6th, Roman Pascucci is in 8th, and it is Ruben Lorente in 8th, Ralph Benitez, Bruno De Gama, Pedro Dean, Victor Miranda, Gerard Sedeni, and then 1 retirement so far That is Josh Perween. He won't be classified. You've got to complete 80% to classify. Here is Juan Plainat, and while we're on board with him, let's take a trip round his fabulous Mount Panorama Circuit into the final. Not necessarily the most crucial exit onto the corner, but it's a nice way to set off down towards turn number 1, the hell corner, which can sometimes be heaven or hell, really. If there's a car and you're inside and you end up on that gravel, you will get a poor run down towards turn number 2, as that's the end of the track guide, unfortunately, because we are looking at 2 drivers in the pit lane.
Yeah, so there we go. Toby Soriano and Roberto Frizer now finally hitting the pits. Gael Valero taking his rival place up to 2nd. Jackson Asenje in 3rd, as everyone else keeps passing these guys on by. So, again, pit strategy almost always plays a huge role out here at Mount Panorama. Gael Valero taking that early lap. So, again, we thought it was really paying out for him early on, which it did until he had to hit that 2nd pit stop. And now it is in favor of Juan Plainat, who stayed out on the track a little bit longer. So definitely one thing to keep in mind, though, is how much fuel did Juan Plainat, because he did not need an entire fuel tank going out in his 3rd stint. So that's definitely going to let him set a little bit faster lap times. Like I said, a lot less fuel out here. Even just half a tank of fuel versus a full tank of fuel, you can get roughly half a second more out of these cars every single lap. So Juan Plainat staying out on the track longer may have just been the move, as he still holds on to the fastest lap time out here during the race, a 2:04.387, and Gael Valero's fastest lap time, and not too far off, about a 2:04.85. So these top 2 drivers, I mean, again, this is kind of how it's playing out in qualifying. We had Juan Plainat in 1st, Gael Valero in 2nd, and Jackson Asenje in 3rd place.
Yeah, we definitely we need to just enjoy this by Juan Plainat, because he's really giving it everything here at the mountain, and was purple in sector 3, but dare I say he's going to go even quicker on the next lap, because he's just coming into his own here. The Argentine is really making a good effort of this one, and down towards the final corner now. We're on starting the 30th lap here of 45. Juan Plainat heading down towards the corner now. Is it going to be the fast lap there? No, it isn't, but dare I say he's going to go for it now. So the Argentine was quickest in qualifying, currently leads here in Bathurst, rounding through Hell Corner, up the mountain straight, down towards the 2nd corner. The mountain straight, of course, one of the biggest acceleration zones for these 5.0 litre V8 supercars. They can do 0 to 60 in about 3.2 seconds, but their top speed is well up to about 300 kilometers an hour. Braking for the right-hander of the quarry, you want to take a little bit of that curve on the right-hand side, but not too much. You want to use more of the exit curve. Then it's in towards the cutting, turn number 3 and turn number 4. Flick it through here. You're braking while turning and heading uphill, just getting as close to that inside wall as you can. Then it's up through turn number 5, in towards 6 at Griffin's Mount, then it's 7 at Reeds Park, and then you're in towards 8 of Frog Hollow, 9 of Solman Park, and if it sounds hectic, it's even more hectic to drive. Then you're aiming it for turn number 10, which is McPhillamy Park, and this is a crucial corner down towards Skyline. You don't want to run wide there, that will cost you a lot of lap time by picking up some grass. Braking for Skyline, in towards the S's, as close to these walls as possible. 12, 13, then just rotate it round to 14, in towards 15. Oh, this is poetry in motion as you brake for the Dipper, and in towards Forestell, right close to that wall as you're resting turn number 19. This is like a Stradivarius violin playing in the Sydney Opera House. This is incredible to watch from Juan Plainat. Enjoyable, it absolutely is, as he heads on to the Conrad Straight, prepares it for the final couple of corners of this, and the lap time mightn't be the quickest, but isn't it just so fun to watch? Braking for the chase, turn number 20, then in towards 21. This is 22. You don't want to run wide in the exit, because again, not a lot of curb, but a lot of grass that can lose you lap time. Brake it from Murray's Corner. The Argentine is on a different level. This is something that Peter Brock might be proud of, or Scott McLaughlin, or Shane van Gisbergen, because Juan Plainat is well on his way to become king of the mountains.
Yeah, just like that, a beautiful, lovely commentary all the way through the mountain. As I've seen some of the people out there just saying, man, that is a lot of turns. Yeah, it is. It's not the easiest track to really, really get down, really master the track. Especially there's so many little tiny bumps here and there. Especially like now going into turn number 2. there's quite a bit of banking towards the inside of the turn, but if you're caught up on the outside, there's not that same amount of banking, so you have to take a little bit slower. So some of these places really unique out on here, especially going down the mountain, going up through the cutting as well. On this scan of the track, there's just a little bit of a bump going through turn number 5 that if you are full throttle through that bump, you can get that rear end just absolutely sideways. So again, a lot of inputs out here, not just throttle, braking, but with your steering inputs. No ABS, no traction control. It is a workout even in the sim to just get around the mountain out here. So like I said, these guys are definitely going to be feeling it after this 90-minute race, right before they have a little bit of a break going into heat number 2. But like I said, it's only going to be about 5 minutes for them to kind of get a little bit of rest before they're back on into the sprint race. But right now, still, we see Bruno De Carmo currently sitting in 10th place. So the number 10 in 10th place, the number 11 Ralph Beneath is right in front of him in 9th. So got a couple of the teammates out here trying to work together just a little bit to make up some of that room. Still about a second gap between these guys. So we are lap 31 out of 45 out here in heat number 1. It's still Juan Blanat being absolutely dominant, starting to lead away a little bit now. The gap is about 10 seconds between him and Guy Alvalero, and another 12 seconds between Guy Alvalero in second and Jackson Senje in third. Another fun fact about the mountain out here, like I said early on in the race, yes, Mount Panorama is only ran a few times of the year for races. That'd be 5 times exactly. So since 1993, they put in the Mount Panorama Act that limited the number of times that the mountain could be used for races. So only 5 times a year. Bathurst 1000 and the Bathurst 12-hour take up 2 out of those 5 slots. Like we said, both of those, of course, are out here in iRacing as well. I got to run the 1000 this year, didn't run the 12 hours, but I'm looking forward to that next year, as well as a lot of other endurance races. I think the first one on the calendar next year, 2025, going to be 24 hours of Daytona. Last couple we got going on in iRacing, the Petit Le Mans going on next weekend, as well as the Fuji 8-hour going on later on. So kind of rounding it out here in events going on in iRacing, Evan.
Yes, but that's not all the cool events coming up. Keep an eye on AMX's social channels. Won't say any more because I don't know anymore, but I won't say any more. Despite it looking like Juan Blanat was on his way to run away with this one, Guy Valero sort of stabilised the margin a little bit at 10 seconds. It was looking like Blanat was pulling out 1-2 seconds a lap, but doing a good job nonetheless. This is Ruben Lorente we are looking at. He has a nice little bit of breathing room between himself and Roberto Friser behind us, but call him Ruben Friser, that's not his name. The closest battle on track, however, is between the Coca-Cola car of Jackson Resenje and the Argentine of Tobias Soriano right behind. And the thing I love about these V8 supercars is the rear just loves to step out, and it just looks beautiful.
And as soon as you say that, I mean, again, Jackson Senji almost losing it. So, again, getting very sideways out here. Currently, let's see when Jackson Senji went into pit. He pitted on lap number 24. So, not too much tire wear. But, again, I'm not sure if he actually ended up changing tires. I mean, that would be the smart thing to do. But now, here's he goes side by side. Jackson Senji now up. Toby Soriano starting to fall back a little bit. So, Senji, again, we might see a battle going on for third place out here. Still going back and forth again. Jackson Senji, third place in qualifying, holding on to that third place spot for quite a bit of this race. Toby Soriano now not too far behind him. We'll have to see if Soriano is able to change things up.
Let's see. It's not quite an Argentine 1-2-3 like we've seen in the past in AMX, but it is an Argentine 1-4-5-6, so I suppose it's not too shabby. For the Argentinian sim racers. There is a lot of them here in AMX, and we love every single one. This battle for third and fourth, though, it just looks like a supercars battle. The liveries, the cars, the driving styles, everything about it is just brilliant.
Yeah, that too. I mean, again, it's been also a battle between Holden and Ford all day out here. Again, some of these guys out here in chat, I know you've asked, what are really the big differences in iRacing? Really, the biggest difference is just going to be, hey, the manufacturer and the style of the body, but they run exactly the same. Having a few teammates whenever we're practicing for the Bathurst 1000, I can tell you that we're kind of back on the fence. Some of our drivers just preferred the Ford, some of them preferred the Holden, and that was a bit of a battle in itself to get everyone into the same car. But nonetheless, they drive pretty much exactly the same, especially out here in AMX. Like we mentioned, running the same setup, so they are set up exactly the same, not giving an advantage to either manufacturer out here in today's race. Usually we get to see with the GT3s, those ones have a little bit more differences depending on the track. So if we were running Bathurst out here in the GT3 cars, we would see typically one manufacturer does have a little bit more of preference compared to the others depending on the track, but we still get a great variety out there. Right now, again, we got to see Gael Valero in the interview room yesterday. Of course, this man loves his Ford, so that was one question I had to make sure to ask is, all right, are you going to be keeping that streak going on keeping the Ford? And he's like, oh, yeah, of course. So great things have been coming out here. It's been Holden versus Ford still for the lead as well. Juan Blaynock doing a great job holding Gael Valero still over 10 seconds. Just over 10 laps left in this race, so it's looking very good for Juan Blaynock, but we did see earlier on that he is human. He can make mistakes, so it will be up to him to have a perfect run for this last stint.
He can just drive it home to the finish now, though, can't Blaynock. He doesn't really need to push. Is he going to push? Well, of course he is. He's a racing driver. That's what they all do. No one will ever bring it home smoothly to the end. But we're still looking at Tobias Soriano, who is chasing down Jackson Resenje. Jackson Resenje, of course, third overall in last season's AMX Sim Racing Season 5 World Championship, was third in AMX 5, 11th in AMX 20, the longer format for back then. Brazilian driver, of course, took 3 session wins in Season 4 as well. He's been around in AMX for quite a time, and he is holding Tobias Soriano to his own. And you can see Soriano just having a slide mid-corner, heading through Quarry, catches it nicely, doesn't lose an awful lot of time. And I tell you what, if these guys are all running direct drive wheels, which most of them will be, their shoulders are not going to like this in the morning.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, that's why you see a lot of drivers will just go ahead and take one stint, one full tank of fuel, go in there, get the tires changed, and while they have that, they'll swap drivers during the Bathurst 1000. So you kind of need that little bit of break. Again, just it comes down to how consistent can you be. So far, Juan Blaynock is showing pretty consistent. Again, the Mountain taking out a few drivers earlier during the race, about kind of near that halfway point, it seems, when a lot of these guys started really kind of feeling, I guess, a little bit of that fatigue, a little bit of starting to lose focus. Right now, we can see the camera on Jackson Resenje. He is absolutely focused in here. I know he's had a busy weekend as well out there, the F4 Esports Championship going on. So Jackson Resenje, one of these pro drivers out here in iRacing, showing what you can do, switching it up from an F4 car. You probably can't have anything like that much more different going from a Formula car into a supercar. I mean, total
maybe a
different
pro truck.
ends of the spectrum out here.
Pro truck is a little bit different, I suppose, or the NASCAR truck series. But yeah, the only breather these guys get is the Conrad Straight, which is 1.916 kilometers in difference, or in distance, I should say. The rest of it is all pretty hectic, as someone has said Jackson is the 1,000-mile stare. And to be honest, he did. He had that mid-corner slide. That provoked a little bit of emotion from the Brazilian. You can just see how like fierce the inputs have to be to control these cars at different times. It's really impressive. It's 45 laps of Bathurst by the one driver in a row is really impressive.
And there's a couple of people out here too that, I mean, every time, like I said, it's a super busy season this time of year for a lot of esports drivers. Again, it's great to have these guys out here on Sundays, but I know a lot of them are resting. We were talking about myself and Evan before the stream too, of just some people that we kind of hope we would see out here showing up for today's race. But like I said, just with a lot of their other commitments, I mean, hey, you have to rest sometime during the week, especially the different time zones. It'd be so great to see a lot more Australian drivers out here, but hey, I mean, with the race starting at early hours of the morning, it's a little bit harder for them. So, I mean, like I said, kudos for Josh Perween to be able to make it out here, unfortunately crashing out earlier on in the race. And yeah, we'll still have to see if he decided, you know, maybe it's time I need to actually get a little bit of sleep for work tomorrow in the morning, or if he's going to show up for heat number 2. We'll still stay tuned for that. But right now, still a great battle going on between Jackson Resenje, Toby Soriano. These two kind of keeping it, again, trying to keep it safe while pushing. That fine balance really going to be where it puts them on the podium. So I think Toby Soriano may just wait until the last few laps before he starts trying to really hustle the car around this track.
The gap at the front of this race is extending between Juan Blenat and Gael Valero. It's now 11.2 seconds. They both had to come from back to front. It'll be very interesting to see what they can do in the sprint variation of this coming up directly after this one, folks. It'll be only about 5 minutes separating the two, and be 30 minutes, so it'll be significantly shorter than this 90-minute variation. At 36 of 45 here at Mount Panorama, the famous Bathurst circuit located in New South Wales, Australia, and it is situated on a mountain. Guess what the mountain's called? Well, it's called Mount Panorama. You never would have guessed that one, folks.
So, yeah, right here, let's see, though. Like I said, things have kind of calmed down a little bit right now. Not really any crazy incidents going on, not really too much. Everyone's kind of spread out throughout the mountain, but like I said, I think that's going to be the big difference just with the grid size out here. So there's still 13 drivers remaining in this race. Everyone now on their final stints. They've all hit the pits, all come out back on here. So this is very close to where we will see our finishing order so long as no one makes any mistakes. But again, it is Mount Panorama. Mistakes can be made at any single time. Never count it out for anyone. Is now looks like Toby Soriano is starting to get a little bit more comfortable, just trying to push a little bit more than Jackson essentially. Again, Jackson maybe just starting to feel the fatigue as well. Like I said, it's not nothing too crazy, but these drivers have already been out here almost an hour, 20 minutes straight so far. So again, by this point, definitely in a team race, they would have already swapped drivers. Usually, most drivers tend to try to not keep it out more than an hour long on such a demanding track like this. So we'll have to keep an eye on these two of really, again, it's a battle against each other, but it's also a battle against yourself. How much will do you have? How much can you stay focused the entire time? And how much are your arms going to be feeling it by the end of the race?
Yeah, I think this race is going to end due to the time, not due to the lap count being reached. Just like Monza last week, just like probably most of the races will be. But we will still do the full 90-minute heat, which is thoroughly interesting. And thoroughly tiring for these drivers. I think even myself and Kevin are feeling tired just watching them, let alone actually driving this this circuit. But fastest lap of the race as well, currently to Juan Blenat. So he is really in for a nice prize pickup and for a stellar performance and some great championship points. Gael Valero, though, still doing the job at the front of the championship. He came in tonight with 199 points in the AMX15 championship. In second was Peter Zuba, who isn't here, so Gael Valero will leave Bathurst still pretty satisfied. But of course, we still do have one more race coming up after this one, and the drivers cannot forget that.
And I'm kind of seeing what's going on in the chat right now. So everyone talking about the current supercars out there. So yeah, unfortunately, with Australia's production of vehicles coming to untimely end over the last several years, it has turned into the Chevy Camaro versus the Ford Mustang. So right now it's a lot more akin to the cars that we see in NASCAR. So the next gen cup cars in NASCAR, a lot more similar to the current the current supercars out there going. But one thing that really is getting exciting is, just as soon as I said, Jackson essentially taking it, hitting that wall a little bit harder than probably he wanted to. So looks like you can see he's starting to get a little bit more tired now at this point in the race. But back to what I was saying, in real life, the V8 Supercars, one thing that just got released this week, we've seen Toyota Gazoo Racing out there revealing what they're going to be having for the 2026 season. I really hope iRacing puts all three manufacturers, Chevy, Ford, as well as Toyota, out here updated for the supercars in iRacing. I mean, definitely they're out there, I think now scanning the bend. So adding more tracks, getting more scans out there for these Australian tracks. Of course, I wouldn't expect it if we get an announcement pretty soon if they're going to be having the new Camaros as well as the Mustangs in here. Of course, the cars we're running right now are from the 2019 season. So it's already been about 5 years that we've had different cars out here in the V8 Supercars. So Toyota going out there with the Supra, I have a feeling a lot of people will be choosing that if it comes to iRacing.
Did you just say it's been 5 years since 2019? I feel so old. Oh my goodness me. But yeah, it has been 5 years since these cars raced in the Go V8 Supercars Championship. Of course, the Bathurst 1000 became a part of the Supercars Championship in 19 1999. It became part of a round of the season, but it has been ran since 1963, and as Kevin said at the top of the program, originally it was 500 miles, then changed to 1,000 kilometers when they changed to the metric system. Kevin probably doesn't know what that is.
Yeah, I need to. I'll say this before. I need to get a soundboard out here just for all the memes.
Yeah, anything but the metric system, as they say. Kevin smiles, eyes kilometers. But that's a poor joke, but it goes to show the point of the race we are getting in. That 38 of 45, we are still on board with Tobias Soriano, and I tell you what, he's going to be sick of seeing the rear of Jackson Mersenje's car by the end of this race.
Yeah, look, one thing that we've seen, though, from this season and previous seasons as well, Toby Soriano is really great about being patient. So he knows, again, he's already seen Jackson Mersenje right in front of him make a few mistakes, so he knows that as long as he doesn't make any mistakes, that he may very well get onto the podium. So once again, Toby Soriano just really waiting behind, not trying to make any moves happen, but now he's getting sucked in behind the draft of Jackson Mersenje. Will he make him move this lap? He does. He goes to the inside right here around the kink, and just like that, trying to set it up, going into the chase. But Jackson Mersenje holding on that inside line. Who's going to have it right here? A little bit of contact right there, a bit of a bump from Toby Soriano as he slots right back in behind Jackson Mersenje. So he's letting him know he's going to make that move very soon. And now trying to hold the inside. Oh, he peeks. A little bit of a mind game going into Murray's corner. So right now, into the final lap. Well, not final lap just yet. Whoa, I don't need to get ahead of myself. What I was meant to say is,
Kevin.
I expect these two to be getting it down into the final lap, just how both of them have been driving. But now coming out of Hal's corner, up onto the mountain straight, will Toby Soriano be able to make the move happen once again? We know he has the pace. He just tried to let Jackson Mersenje know, all right, I'm here. That might have woken up Mersenje to really try to lock in even more.
The drink mid-straight, mid-battle was an intriguing choice by Tobias Soriano. That was a fun one to see. You can see them both on the cameras on the bottom left-hand side of your screen. To the left is Tobias Soriano. He is the chasing car. And in the opponent cam, that is Jackson Mersenje. But you're well familiar with these two, both AMX legends in their own right. Both have a lot of history here in the championships. And they are both going to be racing until the final minutes of this endeavour around Mount Panorama. And Mersenje looking a little bit wobbly, but tidied it up nicely, heading through McPhilliby Park, or just this is McPhilliby Park now, tidied up nicely through Sulman Park, and then down towards Skyline and the S's. We'll see who gets the better run. But flicks it left, flicks it right. Soriano just pushing it that little more, but Mersenje knows the cards are in his hands. He's the defensive car, and that's a quick flick to the right for Tobias Soriano, just to try maybe go under Jackson Mersenje in towards the Dipper and in towards Forrest's elbow. Who's going to get the better exit? Mersenje marginally, but Soriano, of course, will have the slipstream past 200 kilometers an hour, past 250, almost heading up to 300. Tobias Soriano, he's going to go for the inside through the right kink, the fastest kink in touring car racing, but he will have the outside for the chase. It will matter not. Tobias Soriano is ahead briefly. He is fully ahead now. Mersenje, oh, hits the back and off the circuit goes Jackson Mersenje. Does extremely well not to rotate his car. That'll be battle over for that one. Mersenje holds it nicely. His Holden doesn't spin, but he has lost the podium place. He's down to fourth.
And just like that, your number 3 in qualifying getting taken out of the number 3 spot. Now dropping down back into fourth. So we'll have to see again. He's not too far behind. That bit of a lockup kind of really going to heat up those tires. So he'll have the mountain straight to try to get that. But just look at the damage from the front end of Jackson Mersenje's car. You can see not going to really be getting as much aero, especially now that he's out of the draft of Toby Soriano. Jackson Mersenje really has his work cut out for him if he wants to really get back up into that third place. But now we have another battle going on. It is Roman Pascucci and Ruben Llorente. So these guys a little bit behind. We have right in the middle of the pack battle going on for 6th place as these guys now making their way up the mountain straight. We have the Monster Energy livery, the Holden car again. Holden versus Ford out here in the middle of the pack.
As once again, my theory from earlier is correct. Every time we see Pascucci, he is battling with someone. And on this time, it is Ruben Llorente who almost looks for the move up the hill in towards the cutting. Not able to to make the move there. Oh, Pascucci, very wobbly though, so could be under pressure. Oh, big error for Ruben Lorente. What's happened to him? He's had a massive slide. Round he goes. And that'll be that for that battle. Ruben Lorente, huge wobble heading through Griffin's Mountain in towards Reed Park. And now he is stuck and has to reset. Ruben Lorente, disappointing, is down to the back.
And just like that, folks, with just about roughly over 5 laps left in this one, we get to see exactly what happens when he just pushed a little bit too much late into the race. He was trying to get the job done over Roman Pascucci, but once again, just like that, anything can happen at any point out here in the mountain, especially now as we start coming, looking like it's now warming up just a little bit towards the late afternoon hours, starting to get a bit of that golden hour shine going on. Is another lockup right there. We have Roberto Frizer going into the wall in Forest Albo, letting Ralph Benitez pass him. And just like that, folks, this is when we start seeing mistakes made. The drivers are starting to feel a little bit more tired. They're starting to make mistakes. The tires are starting to be worn, as well as just the damage that has accrued over their entire race is really starting to come into play right now.
Yes, the tired minds and tired muscles are kicking in. Of course, we still do have another 30-minute race after this one for heat number 2. We are at 1:26 now, so this one will be ended under time rather than the full lap count, but that's not a problem. We'll still be well over an hour and a half. So the 90-minute heat will still be classified here in AMX 15. Juan Blenat leads, Kyle Valero second, Tobias Soriano in third, and it is Jackson Mersenje fourth, Fabrizio Belziti in fifth. Here is a full replay. I imagine this is of the incident heading up the hill. And Kevin, what do you make of this one?
I mean, again, it sort of looks right here. I think he just pushed it a little bit too hard. So there we see coming out of the cutting, going up, and yep, just pushing it too hard. Again, just barely hitting that curbing, and it just rockets him to the other side of the track. There we see that rear quarter panel just absolutely getting demolished from this point of view. He even lost a wheel. So I don't think we caught that one the first time around, but there goes his wheel down the mountain. Luckily, that wheel can't take out anyone else in iRacing, but if that would have been in real life, that would have been yellow flags out all day. I don't even know if that would have been enough for a red flag, but like we said, he got stuck, had to get the pit, had to get towed out to the pits, and now that's where he still sits out there. So Ruben Llorente now in 13th place. Luckily, it is another reverse grid going into the next 30-minute heat. So Ruben Llorente, not having the best of time out here for heat number 1, will be able to redeem himself a great starting spot for heat number 2.
Roll, roll, roll your wheel gently down the hill. As that is disappointing for Ruben Llorente, who was running a fairly solid race, but is out. He will still be classified though. He will still get prizes for 13th, but with prizes for 6th, it's a big difference. But to be in the big prizes, you got to finish the race. Unfortunately, he will not. Ruben Llorente is actually back out on track though, so he's now 12th. He has got past Gerard Sardeni. But we're on board here with Juan Blenat, who is still pushing it through the mountain and still just looking superb.
So again, for all those watching at home, I think this is the first time we haven't mentioned it in all race, but just go ahead and scan that QR code up on your screen, get the live timing, be able to see all of the details that we're seeing up here in the commentator's booth, as well as, again, like we said, one more heat coming up after this. It's going to be a bit more of a sprint race, so those guys will be leaving everything out on track. What we got to see early on out here, these guys, again, taking that early pit stop early on seemed to be kind of the better strategy for some. I mean, really, we talk about strategy, but whenever you're out here, Mount Panorama, it seems the strategy, like you said, Evan, has just been survive. So far, that strategy's been working out for our leaders, not so much for some of the other guys towards the back of the pack.
Yep, it's survival of the fittest, and then even then you need a bit of luck as Juan Blenat rounds through the chase to start the 53rd tour of Mount Panorama. I've been so certain that this one was going to finish under time, but I'm actually not sure because of how quick Juan Blenat is lapping. He'll have 3 more laps left after this one. That's a bit over the 6 minutes, so he is exceptional. An exceptional performance from Juan Blenat. I think I said this about halfway through the show, but I can definitely say it now. This is Juan Blenat's best AMX performance, certainly in recent past.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have to agree with you there. For sure, his best of the season, probably the best from the last couple of seasons. So Juan Blanat just being absolutely dominant from start to finish out here. Had a little bit of a battle going on between him and Gael Valero earlier on in the race, but once he went for that overcut, that paid off huge for him. Now, already a 12, almost 13-second gap between first and second place. So Juan Blanat, he is going to be having to start from the back of the pack in heat number 2. But again, with the points being tripled for heat number 1, it's a 90-minute race versus a 30-minute race. So they got triple the time, triple the points out here. It's definitely going to be very good. Juan Blanat, of course, taking home first place in qualifying. We'll have to see if he's able to pull off the hat trick out here again, too. We got to see the hat trick go on yesterday during AMX 0 with Dudu Barrichello out there. So, I mean, again, we mentioned it. I'd love to see some of these guys that are a little bit more keen on some of these other cars coming out here. We only had 14 drivers starting off in this race. That's now seen 2 drivers completely taken out by the mountain. But here we go, folks, as Juan Blanat looking like this may be either his final or penultimate lap. Again, the timer going out on the screen, 1:33 out here. So not exactly 90 minutes, but hey, it doesn't really matter for this guy. Now he just knows he has to survive out here, Evan.
Well, it is 90 minutes because an hour and 31 is 91 minutes. So he is doing 90 minutes. But he'll have one more lap and one more tour before he picks up a nice $90 prize pool. Well, a bit more than $90 because he has the fastest lap as well. And at this stage of the race, I don't think anyone's going to beat that. Gerard Sardeni is into the pit lane, so Ruben Lorente will be a confirmed 12th. One more tour then around this famous 6.213 kilometer circuit, and I tell you what, Kevin, he has been fantastic for the last hour and a half.
Definitely, and being fantastic where it counts. This man, just to see where the points are, so $90 for this heat number 1. He already got $30 going in for qualifying, as well as another $30 potentially for heat number 2. So if he takes it back to back to back out here all day long, I mean, Juan Blanat could be walking out of here $150 richer. So definitely these guys putting in the practice has definitely been so beneficial for them. I know a lot of people now kind of I guess depending whether or not they take sim racing as serious as real racing, but these guys out here on track absolutely do, and it is paying off big time for them. I know within just the last couple of championships that we've had, of course, Gael Valero being the overall champion twice in a row, taking over $1,000 each season. So having multiple seasons in a row, hey, this is very good. And this is only in AMX. I mean, there's other things that these guys race in as well. So definitely for whoever said you can't make a living playing games, you can't make a living out here doing sim racing, there are plenty of people out here doing it. Juan Blanat being one of those that, again, a lot of these drivers use it as an entryway to real racing. Juan Blanat being one of those that he loves to be out there. I follow a lot of these guys' social medias as well, so it's great to see what they're doing on and off the track out here, both in real life, both in iRacing. But Evan, here we go, Juan Blanat taking home the win out here in heat number 1.
Well, I tell you what, it's been a performance that some of Aussie Supercars greats would have been proud of. Peter Brock, 9 wins here in Aussie Supercars. We've had some brilliant winners, Scott McLaughlin, Shane Van Gisbergen, and yesterday, Brody Kostecki taking a brilliant win. But there's not many that are going to be able to match what Juan Blanat has produced today. The Argentine is king of the mountain here in AMX. An unbelievable performance from the number 89. Fastest lap to go with it as well, and a job well done.
So just like that, you know he is just feeling relief. Usually you see a lot of excitement as the guys pass the line, but the looks on their face is just, okay, I need to get out of this car, I need to get out of this seat and just go and get ready for the next race. I mean, a lot of these guys, like we said, it is the first heat of the day. They still have another one coming up shortly, so they're trying to focus on for that. But again, the excitement, I'm sure, will be celebrated very shortly from these guys as well. Gael Valero coming in second place. Toby Soriano holding on to that third place. And here we see Jackson Sanjay coming across the line in fourth. Man, this has been a great race so far. Again, as always, the attrition of these drivers that never ceases to amaze me.
Yes, as we wait for our final finishers to round through, here's Roman Pascucci, who comes home in 6th. And then it'll be Ralph Benitez who comes home in seventh. He comes home in. We'll have your full confirmation of results. Remember, it will be a reversed grid for heat number 2, which is only 30 minutes. Don't worry, folks. We don't have another 45 laps to go through. It'll just be 15, as we have, dare I say, the nicest looking car on the grid to round us out in 10th.
I argue with that one. I really like the look from there. Ruben, his car coming across, but now still Victor Miranda looks like maybe the last one coming across the line. We have Llorente and Sardani still in the pits. Josh Perween out, completely retired from the race. So there we go, Evan. That will wrap it up. And again, great big congratulations to Juan Blanat out here today for heat number 1 as well as qualifying. Let's see if he can do it again for heat number 2.
Yes, here is your full race results then for the 90-minute Enduro. Your BenQ session winner is Juan Blanat by 13 seconds over Frenchman Gael Valero in second. Championship leader Gael Valero as well. Tobias Soriano in third, Jackson Mersenje in fourth, Fabrizio Belziti in fifth, Roman Piscucci in sixth, Roberto Friser, Ralph Benitez in seventh, Roberto Friser in eighth, and Bruno Tacarmo, Pedro Dean, Victor Miranda, Ruben Lorente Jr., Gerard Sardeni, and Josh Perween, who will not be classified after bowing out with 27 laps to go. So that's it for the 90-minute Enduro. We have the reverse grid 30-minute sprint race coming up. Same cars, same track, same challenge. Will it be the same result?
Just like that, we're going to take a short couple-minute break, folks, but don't go anywhere as we have Heat 2 coming up here in just a few moments.
This life, it's ephemeral, but this feeling now is so ethereal. Oh, this life, it's ephemeral, but this timeless moment is so
Well, folks, we have plenty more action coming up here from Mount Panorama. The 30-minute sprint after the 90-minute mini enduro. And it's reverse grid once again. On pole position for this one will be Josh Perween, who has survived with us and will be sacrificing even more of his sleep to potentially win around the mountain. Although the Aussies usually perform well around here. It is Josh Perween who is on pole. Gerard Sardeni in second, Ruben Lorente Jr. in third, Victor Miranda in fourth, Pedro Dean in fifth, and it's Bruno De Carmo, Roberto Frizer, Ralph Benitez, Roman Pascucci, Fabrizio Belziti, Jackson Resenge, Tobias Soriano, Gael Valero, and Juan Blanat. 14 drivers who have already driven this circuit a lot this evening, but they're going to try and do it again as we head to the grid now for heat number 2. It is going to be, remember, Josh Perween, who I believe is supposed to start first. Whether he's actually here or not is another question. We're still waiting on a couple of drivers to load in. But if he doesn't, on pole will be Gerard Sardeni, nonetheless, and Ruben Lorente in third.
And there we go, as it looks like we are just moments away. The green flag is off. These drivers get a great start, so Josh Perween not making it in time. Gerard Sardeni now getting up there. Ruben Llorente Jr. as well. So we got the two Spaniards up front leading the pack in those beautiful Fords. Now heading the first time up the mountain straight. These guys starting the train already. They know, again, it is a battle of attrition in the heat number 1, but now we're already getting too wide off in the grass. That looks like, a bit of incidents going on, and we have our first crash of heat number 2 going on. That's Ruben Llorente Jr. getting absolutely spun out. One of the Delete Esports too as he comes back on the track. Having just absolute chaos already out here for heat number 2.
Yep, Howard rejoined by Ruben Lorente, reversed right back in front of the circuit. I think might have clipped Gael Valero as well, but that was a horrible start to the race for a couple of drivers. There was 3-4 cars round. We'll get the running order on your left-hand side in a couple of moments, folks, but your race leader for now is still Gerard Sardeni, Miranda second, then Bruno De Carmo, Pedro Dean, Roman Pascucci. It is Belziti, Frizer, Soriano, Resenge, Blanat, Valero, Benitez. Out of the race, Ruben Lorente and Josh Perween. Perween not starting, of course. Sardeni 0.4 of a second ahead of Victor Miranda as they dive down into the S's for the first time.
Man, so I mean, you don't expect there to be much carnage on the mountain straight, but just like that, any part of Mount Panorama can take out drivers at any time. Again, just looking for the overtake. It looked like Victor Miranda was trying to get an overtake done there on the grass. So luckily, that could have been worse for a lot of drivers, barely skating by. But like you said, Ruben Llorente kind of just rolling back onto the track again, clipping a couple other people there. Ralph Benitez is now pretty far behind. So going to see, though, as Gerard Sardeni now holding on. Victor Miranda trying to make the move early on to the inside. Has the inside line now. No, he's going to back out just a little bit. So Sardeni holding on to this as we round out for the first lap. But there we see Bruno De Carmo right on the rear end of his teammate of Victor Miranda. So we'll see. Are they going to battle it out, or are they going to try to work together as a team? Man, just so much already going on for lap number 1. Again, a couple of these cars out, damaged. Jackson Asenge out into the pit lane now, as well as Roberto Frizer. So those guys looks like they got caught up in that incident. There was no mandatory pit stop right now, but these guys still having to pit. Just again, a little bit of damage out there.
Yeah, no mandatory pit stop in this one, but a couple of them still opting to take a trip into pit lane. Here comes Victor Miranda looking to attack the Spaniard in front. Bruno De Carmo right behind as well. De Carmo not necessarily a fan of this car and track combination, but could still pick up a good result here tonight. As we're on board with Victor Miranda looking back at Bruno De Carmo, and you can see it's a little bit wobbly for Miranda, but still keeping ahead. De Carmo, though, just trying to get past. You can see the Holden logo in full swing. You can see it in crystal clear 1080p vision on the back camera of Victor Miranda's machine. That's how close they are, heading up through Reed Park and towards Sulman Park, down towards the John Hinksman Vista. It is very close, safe to say, at the start. The top 6 all within a second of each other. Not all within a second of 6 cars, but they're within a second of the car in front. And then there's a little bit of a schism in the field with Tobias Soriano.
Right now, again, we'll have to see if these drivers started off with a full tank of fuel. They will not have to pit at all. But once again, depending on the setup, I haven't ran this setup myself, so Not too sure exactly if they will have to pit just a bit of a splash and dash if they're going to try to do any fuel savings. But for right now, everyone is full throttle all the way through. Vic Miranda just still trying to lock in again. Out here with his teammate Bruno Carmo right behind him. Pedro Dean in 4th place, trying to get up onto the podium. Didn't have the best of racing. He number 1, again, one of those drivers that got taken out by the mountain. So a few of these guys that, like I said, really able to redeem themselves out here, but they're still going to have to be super careful as now coming out lap number 2 towards the final turn, and it looks like Victor Miranda is hitting the pit lane. So, Evan, fuel might be coming into play out here in heat number 2 as well.
Yeah, fuel a bit of an issue, clearly, because they're all making their way to pit lane. That was a really big dive into the pits by Bruno De Carmo. He has this one mastered, and he will be looking to take a trip. Gael Valero, fastest lap of the race. Sardeni slides out of 1. Pascucci in 2nd, then is Belziti, Soriano, Valero, Blaine Nat in the top 6. And Roman Pascucci once again under pressure from a Vodafone car behind. This time it's Fabrizio Belziti, the Argentine. His fellow Argentine, I should say, and then Tobias Soriano a little bit behind them as well. But good start from Sardeni. He has survived the opening 2 laps and leads.
Yeah, and I think right now Juan Blainot, he went for the overcut in heat number 1. I'm thinking he's going to try to do the same thing again now. Try to really get out of this train that's going on, but like we've seen at the very beginning, it's going to be a lot harder, this being a sprint race. There's not going to be as much overtaking opportunities. Like we said, with a longer race out at Mount Panorama, you're really relying on a lot of these drivers to start making mistakes there. Roman Pascucci playing it a little bit safer this time around. We got to see in heat number 1, just at the top of the mountain, really pushing it hard, ending up into that wall a few times. So here, these drivers, again, finding that balance between how much can I push this car to the absolute limit versus I need to still finish the race if I want to get out here. So Sardani still doing a great job holding on to that P1. Roman Pascucci now doing a great job defending P2 from Fabrizio Balziti. But Kobe Soriano, Gael Valero shortly behind them also have the pace. Juan Blainot now in 6th place. So we have about 3 of our fastest drivers right there in the middle of the pack.
Yes, and in this race, you can't be as slow and steady because it's such a shorter format. You've got to push it, and you've got to try and gain time and positions when you can, because there won't be natural opportunities that arise. And Roman Pascucci in 2nd, who we are on board with, is using his opportunity nicely to try and catch Jared Sardeni, but Sardeni is into the pit lane, so that'll count out that one, and Roman Pascucci will lead for the first time since the early stages of the Mini Enduro.
There we can see as well, Juan Blainot hitting the pits there with Sardeni. So we'll have to see how long can these guys stay out. I think Roman Pascucci, Fabrizio Balziti, another fast driver out here, really going to try and stay out on track just a little bit longer. Again, I think the big part, they have to know what is their pace, where is the pace of some of the other drivers. So it would definitely be helpful for a lot of these guys to have someone spotting on them, have a crew chief in their pits right now to really be taking advantage, trying to crunch some numbers, see, all right, this is where we're at, this is where we can come out of the pits as long as we don't have to be fighting too much with the drivers behind us. So again, it's always a team effort. Although these guys aren't switching out drivers for this race today, it's still a team effort for some of them, whether they're both on track or just in the pits watching them. I know especially it comes into play big time when we got to see the endurance races, but even for sprint races, having that person in your corner just looking out for you, crunch some numbers, being able to look out for your fuel, those are all big help. So here we go. Lap number 415, currently Pascucci, Balziti, Soriano, your top 3 running order.
Yep, that's the top 3 here on lap 4 of 15. A half an hour sprint race, this one. We still have plenty of time to go. There's an Argentine podium for now, but remember, all but the top 4 have made pit stops. The rest of them have not, I should say. No pit stop mandatory, but the driver's obviously feeling they need to for fuel, which I'm surprised, because I thought we saw a couple of people do more than 15 laps in the earlier race, but maybe not. Maybe they were just pitting in 15 lap intervals. So clearly a little bit of a splash and dash needed. Here's Tobias Soriano. No, not able to make the move.
And just a quick reminder for everyone out there. So again, AMX15 out here on this Sunday. Will be returning on not next Sunday, but the following week with the TCR doubleheader again. Our TCR World Tour will ensue. So, like I said, a bit of an off week next week during the season. If you guys have been paying attention to social media at all, you'll be able to see that AMX will be partnering up, be out there for the ADAC Sim Racing Expo out in Germany. So if you guys are going to be out there, make sure to keep an eye out for us. We're going to be out there alongside, I think there's going to be quite a few drivers showing up to that, a lot of different people, as well as it seems our friends over at Next Level Racing. So plenty to be announced out there for that. Keep your eyes peeled for what's going to be coming. I think ADAC's already been announcing a few things this week, and so definitely a lot going on. Make sure to follow all of our social medias to keep up to date with what we got going on. Right now, still lap number 5 out of 15. We are just about almost a third of the way through this race. Roman Pascucci, Kobe Soriano, Gael Valero now all still yet to pit, all still trying to just put as much as they can. And as soon as I say that, Pascucci just tapping the wall there. So bit of a mistake from Pascucci. Now you can just see how hard these guys are trying to push at this point in the race. They know that they need to get as far ahead as they can, or else they're going to be stuck in traffic coming out of the pits.
In towards the S's, they're all pushing. And you can see Roman Pascucci maybe pushing a little bit too much as Tobias Soriano sliding through the left-hander, and he's really gaining close to Pascucci in front, and maybe the Holden can launch an attack on his fellow Argentine and fellow Holden racer in front. Here we go. Tobias Soriano tucked into the slipstream of Roman Pascucci, looking to try and make the move. He's got a lot of overspeed, and he's going to go for the move in towards turn number 20, down towards the chase section. Tobias Soriano leads here in Bathurst. An excellent move for him, took his chance nicely, and is into the lead of this race. 5 laps out of 15 completed. These 3 not making their way to the pit stops. Everybody else has. But what can they do? Can they manage their fuel maybe until the end of this race? Have they pulled a masterclass? Only time will tell.
There we go, folks. Toby Soriano, Roman Pascucci, Gael Valero still holding out there as long as they can. I think all 3 of them are going to probably do that. Just wait until the last possible moment before they hit the pits. But again, depends how much they're going to battle it off. Gael Valero, we know he has the pace a little bit more than a couple of these other guys. Or, well, really, Toby Soriano out there too as well has immense pace. So it's really hard to tell. Again, it's come down to incidents out here. How close do these drivers want to get to the wall? As we can see, just right there, Gael Valero knowing that he might be able to just outpace these guys right in front of him. Taking a look at the timing screen right now. He does have a little bit faster of a lap time so far. Of course, Juan Blanat already setting the fastest lap time out here in heat number 2. So will Gael Valero, take that early pit stop, or will he get ahead of these guys? There, Roman Pascucci again making a little bit of an incident. Here we have a quick replay of that first lap crash there. Vic Miranda trying to make the move on the grass, and it looks like there Ruben Llorente just, unfortunately, those 2 drivers came together. Llorente really just I'm not sure if it was that fact of not giving the room or Victor Miranda just trying to get out, but he didn't hold the brakes, rolled back on, and unfortunately flipping another driver there at the back.
Yeah, it was a weird first lap collision, especially on a straight bit of tarmac, but these things happen around the mountain, and they're not too unfamiliar. Here is Gael Valero looking to attack Roman Pascucci. Valero second in race number 1. He's looking for maybe a little bit more here in race number 2, but he's looking for second place right now. Number 33 going for the inside of the right-hander, but outside the left. 23 on the left side. Valero won't be able to make the move stick, and Roman Pascucci will still stay in front for the time being. This is letting Tobias Soriano pull out in front, and Valero doesn't fancy being held up anymore. He makes his way to the pit lane.
Yeah, that seems like the smart move from Gael Valero right there. He knows that he's going to just be caught up in traffic. The guys in front of them, there's a couple opportunities, but again, really just at that point, he was waiting for them to make some big mistakes. So Gael Valero now, we'll see where he comes out. Is he going to come out in front of Victor Miranda? Only time will tell. Not having to get a full tank of fuel out here to finish this race. Like we said right now, lap number 7 of 15, about halfway through this race. So will Gael Valero beat it, or will Victor Miranda take the lead of the pit stoppers?
We will see. There is Gael Valero looking to leave the pit lane. Here is Victor Miranda heading in towards the first corner. Miranda's ahead. Victor Miranda will lead provisionally here in Bathurst, but Valero is going to fall out into the train, and yes, there he is, fourth in the train behind Juan Blanat. Those two didn't really get to battle after their final pit stops in the opening mini enduro. They're going to battle now, and here comes Fabrizio Belziti immediately looking for the move on Victor Miranda, unable to get it done.
And we can already see right there Fabrizio Balziti just getting a little bit sideways as we're coming up the mountain. So again, a little bit of damage, a little bit of tire work going on from these guys. I'm sure, like you said, just a bit of splash and dash. Not quite a long enough race for these guys to really be worrying about tires. Like I said, only 15 laps out here. Typically, you can get about 25 laps out on a set of tires before really you start thinking about changing them, getting in. So the guys that have hit the pits, just enough fuel to really finish the race. But right now, still great moves going on. Juan Blanat has the pace over Fabrizio Balziti, but Balziti doing an excellent job so far of defending. As we go down the mountain, we'll have to see as these guys, still, the rear end just keep picking out. So I'm waiting for a crash to happen coming down the mountain sometime out here, Evan.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't seen, I think we saw one, maybe in the mini enduro. We've not seen one here in the sprint. They're all racing so close. I'm not too sure how they haven't caused one yet. Top two into the pit, so that'll be everyone has been in and out for a service. We'll see where they fall out in relation to Victor Miranda, Fabrizio Belziti, Juan Blanat. It's going to be very close, actually, because Soriano was a little bit up the road from Gael Valero. And look, here we go again. Battle commencing. And Juan Blanat goes for the outside of Victor Miranda. That's an unbelievable move from Juan Blanat. And Gael Valero follows him through. Miranda loses 2 in the 1. Blanat and Valero, the two quickest here today around the mountain, have both got past, and they're going to fight now for 4th position. Fabrizio Belziti might be in a little bit of trouble here because he's got 2 very quick racers right behind him. Where is Soriano and Roman Pascucci in relation to the pit exit? Remember, the pit exit slightly shorter than the first corner, but they will be behind. There is Tobias Soriano. He comes out in 4th. This is going to be a crazy fight to the end.
And just like that, I mean, I'm expecting it to go down to the last lap. We'll see again. Juan Blanat, Gael Valero right now side by side as we go up into turn number 2. A little bit of bumping right there. Juan Blanat just trying to hold that inside line. And another little contact right behind Gael Valero. Toby Soriano trying to get into the mix of things as well. So folks, just like that, we have a great battle going on our hands. 2 wide now going up into the cutting. Who's going to survive? It looks like everyone's still surviving it. They're trying to play again. Right, trying to play it a little bit smart, not getting into any wrecks going up the mountain.
Yes, you don't want to damage your car now. That could be race over, and Fabrizio Belziti is under a huge amount of pressure from Juan Blanat here, heading through McPhillamy Park, turn number 10 and in towards 11 and 12. Skyline into the S's. Belziti just about ahead of Juan Blanat. Blanat can't really get past here. He's just got to keep as close as he can to the rear bumper of the Ford Mustang GT in front of him if he wants to get a good run towards the chase and down the Conrad Straight. Here we go. Fabrizio Belziti trying to utilise all 635 brake horsepower that he has. Blanat looking to utilise the slipstream, and one Argentine is going to look to get past another, and Juan Blanat is ahead. Can Gael Valero follow him through? Valero getting really close, and Valero's going to try dive down the inside in towards the chase. Won't happen. Valero stays behind. Fabrizio Belziti in second. Crucially, Juan Blanat leads. Valero might have a run down towards Murray's corner. Belziti defends. Valero wants the outside. Very tricky to run around the outside there. Has Belziti run wide for the corner? No, he hasn't. Bit of a slide on exit. Unbelievable save from Belziti. And he still keeps Gael Valero behind. But this could get close down to Quarry.
So what we got to see in Heat 1 now, definitely quite the opposite in Heat 2. I mean, it's just close all the way throughout the pack. Again, out here for our leaders, Juan Blanat, Fabrizio Belziti. Gael Valero now trying to make the move over Belziti. It's going to go 2 wide now up into turn number 2. So the last part of the mountain straight, definitely Gael Valero holding that inside line, easily overtaking Fabrizio Belziti. So again, I'm not sure if Belziti just didn't quite have the exit he wanted coming out of Hell's Corner now going up into turn 1. But we'll have to see through the cutting. Gael Valero still on the rear bumper now of Juan Blanat. Evan, I think this one, if these two drivers can keep it safe, it might come down all the way to the final lap.
It might, it could well do. We're on lap 9 out of 15. 18 minutes have been raced here in this heat. And this could be very close towards the finish. We're over the halfway. It's Juan Blainat who leads. The only thing is Gael Valera needs to keep close with Blainat. He can't let Juan run away, otherwise Juan will do what he did in the first heat and just dominate the second half of the race. Soriano right behind Belziti. Could be another move on as he's trying to overtake. Could be the chase, the big overtaking point once again on this lap. The Conrad Straight as they enter now out of Forest's Elbow. Maurizio Belziti could be overtaken here once again on the straight. Soriano going for the outside. Here comes Tobias Soriano, and once again it's one Argentine passing another. Fabrizio Belziti is overtaken by Soriano. It is now Blainat, Valero, Soriano for the top three, and ironically top three in the championship as well.
So just like that, again, yeah, where this is going to put these guys into point standings, we'll have to see at the end of the race for the official results, where these guys all come in. But it's looking excellent for Juan Blainat. Like we said, did the fastest in qualifying, set the fastest lap in heat number 1, as well as taking home the win. And now it's looking like he may just do that again. So like I said, we got a hat trick going on yesterday with Eduardo Barrichello and AMX 0. Looks like we're going to possibly have another hat trick out here today. Juan Blainat just being absolutely dominant in the V8 Supercars. We might just have to see what he can do. I'm not sure if after this his team might be saying, all right, you know what, we're going to put you in the V8 Supercars series to go out here against a lot of these Australian teams. But I would not doubt it if we see Juan Blainat show up for more races like this in the future. Definitely going to have to keep an eye on what happens for the rest of AMX 15 throughout the season. Like we said, folks, only a couple weeks left of the AMX 15, so we're about just over the halfway point of the season, and things are still getting super close for the lead of the championship.
The control Blainat has heading through Reed Park in Frog Hollow is unbelievable. He just slides the car out to the wall so precisely every single lap. It is unbelievable how quick he is around this circuit and how precise he has been throughout the evening, throughout the last 2-3 hours. It's been exceptional. But even still, that still might be enough to beat Gael Valera, who's right on the heels of the Argentine now. We'll go on to lap 11 after a couple more corners. This could come right down to the wire, the last lap of proceedings here around Bathurst. And I tell you what, you wouldn't want to be going anywhere. Maybe run quickly and top up on your popcorn, because this is going to be drama.
And one of the guys in contention for the overall points championship is Peter Zuba, which is, he's not out here today, so that might just hurt his championship. Again, I'm not sure. A lot of these drivers just trying to make what they can, but Peter Zuba out here absolutely dominating in some of the more high downforce cars. So the final couple of races that we got going on for the AMX 15 championship will be out at Spa-Francorchamps in the LMP2 on the next race. And for the final race of the season in AMX 15, we'll be heading it over to Suzuka in the GT3s. So it's still anyone's battle for the top 3 out here in AMX 15.
Fastest lap of the race for Tobias Soriano, who will pick up the prize if it stays that way. When you met a slipstreaming going on, I wouldn't even be so sure it does, as there's a defensive manoeuvre for Juan Blainat. Gael Valera looked for it in towards turn number 2, but there's a defensive manoeuvre, and that's put Valera offline. This could allow Tobias to get past in towards the left-hander. It is Holden Ford, and Blainat is the one holding the advantage. Valera getting put offline like that will cause him to lose time. He might fall into the clutches of Tobias Soriano behind us. Blainat every single lap just gets so close to that left-hand wall. He probably doesn't even notice it, but my goodness me, would it be scary for any of his fans watching.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so much going on out here. This race, like we said, is a little bit of a contrast compared to what we had into heat number 1. Like I said, heat number 1, it really came down to where these guys ended up hitting, kind of spread out the drivers, and then from there it was surviving the mountain. So far so good for a lot of these guys. Still, unfortunately, showing up on the timing screen, we had Josh Perwin, a DNF in the last race, and did not make it to the grid. Ruben Llorente getting taken out on lap number 1 out here for heat number 2. Roberto Freeze there towards the back. Gerard Sardeni, Jackson Asenje. So we'll have to see Jackson Asenje towards the front of the pack in heat number 1. Not having the best of races out here for heat number 2, but still, lap number 11 of 15. We are about 2/3 of the way through this thing out here. Juan Blanat doing an excellent job defending. Again, Gael Valero, Toby Soriano showing great pace out here all day long. Juan Blanat showing a little bit better pace throughout the endurance race that we had. But again, towards the end of that race, we really got to see those drivers where they are fatigued. I already think seeing Bruno De Carmo just saying, you know, guys, this is killing us as drivers. We've had some feedback from a lot of the drivers for these endurance races, just saying, you know what? Yeah, these races can be killer whenever it's 90 minutes of just back and forth, really trying to stay on focus. So having the sprint race after these drivers are already tired is just a true testament to how well they are. Really, I mean, in any car we put them in so far this season has been a testament to their endurance overall, just their commitment to the sport in general. But Juan Blanat still has his work cut out for him if he wants to take home this second win of the day.
Yes, he does. It's not going to be simple, because you have a double AMX champion right behind you in the form of Gael Valero, the driver for the Apex Racing team. The overall winner in Season 4 and in Season 5. The AMX 5 winner in Season 5. He's actually just tapped that wall, however. So Valero has lost a couple tenths of a second, but it seems like we can glance these cars off walls and they are not affected. V8 cars are made of steel here. In towards the chicane, lap 12 of 15, just coming up on 25 minutes raced, so would not have long left here. Blanat, however, is just driving exceptional. It's very similar to what we saw in Heat 1, but the other way around. It is Valero that can't get past Blanat, rather than Blanat that can't get past Valero.
So definitely we have to see. I know a lot of drivers have kind of talked about giving their feedback, the endurance formats that we got going on. I know a lot of people out there in chat as well kind of saying, would it be better to have shorter races? Would it be better to have longer races? Team races, I know that's one thing. Again, out here AMX, so we do have a bit of a mini enduro, of course, the 90-minute races, but if we had longer, then would it turn into team races? So many things going on. Again, we're going to be having our off week. Next week, a lot of these drivers are going to be glad to see that usually during the off week is a time that we kind of get stuff prepped for next season as well. So stay tuned for everything. Make sure to follow all of our social medias as well as the website. See what announcements we got coming up for Season 7. See what other competitions may be coming down the road as well. I know there's been talks out there of having some bigger championships going on, some bigger prize pools. So stay tuned for all of that, as well as, hey, there's still a few weeks left in the season for everyone out there. AMX 0, absolutely free for everyone to join. If you want to get out of the chat and get onto the track, we'd love to have you here. It's been a great race all season long for AMX 0, from the best of the best drivers in sim racing down to some rookies getting in there. So I hope to catch at least one MX 0 race this season as well. But still, back out here, I mean, these drivers, Juan Blanat still trying to hold off Gael Valero. We've seen Gael Valero last lap around about this point just making the slightest errors, but he's still showing great pace. Again, it shows the power of the draft out here in these cars. So we'll have to see lap 13 of 15. Gael Valero is going to have to pull something out of his hat if he really wants to get this win for heat number 2.
Here they come then. Lap 13 out of 15. Blanat still leads from Gael Valero, and the Frenchman just not able to even look for moves in towards the mountain section, which is very difficult to do so, but he's not able to even look for a move, it seems, in towards the big overtaking zones, in towards the chase and maybe even quarry. But it's very, very intriguing. We're going to have 2 more laps after this one, the penultimate lap coming up shortly, and you can just see Gael Valero gaining in the slipstream. This is going to come down to the last lap, isn't it, Kevin?
Yeah, definitely, like we said. So again, Fabrizio Balziti was in the battle early on, but has since dropped quite a bit. Victor Miranda also now 6 seconds behind. So it's really what is going to be the finishing order on the podium. That is still yet to be determined, as Toby Soriano, Gael Valero, or Juan Blanat, all 3 of them technically have the pace out here to get that win. But so far, with showing how dominant Juan Blanat has been all day, it is looking like this will stay in his favor again. going to come down to, are these guys going to make any mistakes? As now we enter the penultimate lap. Lap 14 out of 15 out here in heat number 2. Juan Blanat trying to get a little bit better exit out there. We just seen out of Hal's corner. So will he be able to keep up the momentum? I know Gael Valero, it seems through sectors 2 and 3, these guys kind of swapping back and forth what parts of the mountain they have better pace than each other. But still, Toby Soriano also holding on to that rear end of Gael Valero, just right on the bumper again. Man, it's still anyone's game. I'm not going to even say who's going to be my pick for this one because it's going to come down to the wire.
Yeah, it's going to be very close indeed. Going by the last laps, they're all pretty much dead evens. Blanat 2/10 quicker than Valero. Valero 1/10 quicker than Soriano. There's no real gaps here, especially for a 6.2 kilometer circuit. And we will have one more lap after this one to round us out to the finish. There's not been a lot of drama in the last couple of laps, but these drivers have been building and biding their time nicely to try and make an impact on this race. Fastest lap has just gone to Jackson Resenje, so there's a swap of the prize pool at least. Resenje able to take the purple lap time.
And I know a lot of people seen out there in heat number 1 just saying, wow, that's crazy, getting an extra $15 just for setting the fastest lap. So again, points were tripled in heat number 1. Heat number 2, the fastest lap, is also going to be a little bit lower, just as the rest of the points are for the standing. So $5 for the fastest lap going out here. Still $30 for the win, $20 for second place, $18 for third. So, I mean, the prizes, even if you make one race out here, again, all these drivers trying to go for the championship, get that big prize as well, some of those next level racing prizes as well. But definitely, it's always nice. Hey, if you can have one race of the day and still walk home with over $100, I'd call that a successful day. So we'll see as now Pedro Dean trying to battle it out for 6th place with Bruno De Carmo. These guys kind of flown a little bit under the radar out here in today's race. But again, one thing for AMX, there's going to be great, amazing battles door to door throughout the entire grid. As the white flag flies, Evan, this is it. It's going to be now or never for a lot of these drivers.
And Juan Blanat has kind of turned on the afterburners because the gap at the front is 1 second now between himself and Gael Valero. Valero been left or has been dropped at the front of this field, and the real battle might be for second place between Gael Valero and Tobias Soriano, heading up towards the mountain, in towards the cutting for the final time. 1.1 now the gap between Blanat and Valero, so Juan Blanat does not want this one decided in the final sector. He wants to ensure that he is the overall winner here in Mount Panorama. Gael Valero just pushing as well, trying to run away from Tobias Soriano. It seems like all three of them have turned it up, heading into the final lap, in towards the Sulman Park corner, the McPhillamy Park curve. Juan Blanat is really pushing at the front of this one. Gael Valero in second, and it's not going to be a fight. It won't be decided on the last lap. Juan Blanat's sudden turn of pace will be the real talking points here, and lap 15 of 15. What an absolute excellent performance it has been from the Argentine from start to finish. Gael Valero, he could still be under pressure from Tobias Soriano here down the Conrad Straight. Soriano had a brilliant run for the S's and down towards the Dipper. Now he's into the slipstream here. Valero, a little bit of blinking in front, but nothing too major. Soriano, is he going to get close enough into the braking zone? I don't quite think so. I think the Ford is enough in a straight to stay in front, and yes, Gael Valero will stay in second, but the big performance of the day is the man in front of the pair of them. Juan Blanat has had an unbelievable day here at Mount Panorama in New South Wales. He was the quickest in qualifying. He dominated Heat 1. He wins Heat number 2. Juan Blanat really is king of the mountains, isn't he? Unbelievable for the Argentine. It's a clean sweep, and he puts himself in a great position in the championship. Gael Valero second. Soriano comes home third.
Absolutely amazing from all of these drivers out here all day, just putting it out from the endurance to the sprint, what they can do out on the mountain. Juan Blanat, Gael Valero, Toby Soriano. This just goes to show why they are top of the championship right now. So Juan Blanat is really trying to reel in Gael Valero in overall points, but there's still 2 more races for that to happen. As now we see the rest of the drivers going on. We can see from Roberto Friis there a little bit of damage on the front end of his car. Again, we had that crucial moment at the very beginning of heat number 2. Lap number 1 going up the straight. Victor Miranda, Ruben Llorente getting side by side, ending up in a bit of a crash. That shook things up. And here, Jackson Asenje still holding on to the fastest lap of heat number 2, coming in 12th place. So he's going to enjoy those extra bit of points, although that's not where he wanted to finish on the grid, as well as Ruben Llorente going to be the last one. And as soon as I say that, getting a little bit off track from Jackson Asenje. Again, the local Josh Perween getting retired from this race after a few laps into heat number 1. But overall, Evan, I mean, still great racing. That's one thing we know all about Mount Panorama is just when you put these guys out here at the highest level, you never know what you're going to get. But one thing that we do know for sure is the racing towards the front of the pack will always be some of the best of the best.
As we will have Llorente finish his race into the pit lane. Because why not? Clearly didn't fancy doing the final corner. But that rounds out our action here at Mount Panorama, folks. We will run you through our Heat 2 results here to conclude the action, and then we will give you our final results, and that'll be that. But it is Juan Nat, who is your BenQ session winner, Gael Valero in second, Tabayano in third, Victor Miranda in fourth, Fabrizio Belziti in fifth, Bruno De Caro in sixth, Pedro Dean in seventh, Ralph Benitez and Pascucci in ninth, then it's Gerard Sardini, Roberto Fraser, Jackson Rosenje, Ruben Llorente, and of course the win fastest lap also goes to Jackson Rosenje.
Oh, just like that. Yeah, Juan Blanat almost having the perfect day in the books. You mentioned it earlier, Evan. This has definitely been his best performance. And he's so glad. Just the look of relief, though. There for a while, we've seen a lot of people, especially in chat, just saying these drivers look like they have the 1,000-yard stare. Just absolutely trying to do what they can to survive out here. What started as an endurance race turned into just a race of pure survival for a lot of these drivers. I know these endurance formats have been brutal on some of these guys. After a full couple hours of racing, what we're used to, they get a little bit of a break on other Sundays, even though when we have our TCR doubleheaders, yes, they're still in the TCR cars, but there's that little bit of break. Get in there, get in practice, get some water. These guys having to endure that for a full 90 minutes. No breaks for these guys, and yet they still show every single weekend why they are some of the best, not only in AMX, but in all of iRacing.
Yes, unbelievable grid we have here, and especially the performance from Juan Blanat tonight. No interviews tonight, folks, but we will hear from the drivers in the next couple of weeks. Plenty. And speaking of the next couple of weeks, that kind of rounds out our first half of the season here, Kevin. Obviously a 1 week break, AMX next weekend, and then we'll be back the weekend after. But an interesting first half of the season, but definitely more to come.
Yeah, and speaking of, although we're going to be on a bit of a break next week, like I mentioned a bit earlier, going to be some of the guys out there at the ADAC Sim Racing Expo. I know there's going to be plenty of people out there in Europe. I'm unfortunately going to be unable to make it this year, but hey, there's always next year to get out there. As well as, like I said, things make sure everyone out there stay tuned to our social media, because there may be some big things coming down the pipeline that you'll just have to wait and see there. So a lot of exciting stuff coming up, as well as the rest of the season. Like we mentioned, we're going to be out at Spa-Francorchamps for the LMP2s, the next AMX15 race, as well as the finale of AMX15. Going to be out there back in the GT3 cars. So we'll have to see how things go on. But Evan, it sounds like we got our results for today's races.
Yes, let's have a look. See your winners. I mean, I think we know who it is. It is Juan Blanat, of course, $165 and 165 points. An excellent performance from him. Gael Valero in second, Tobias Soriano in third, and it's Jackson Rosenje in fourth, Fabrizio Belziti in fifth, Ralph Benitez in sixth, Roman Pascucci in seventh, Bruno De Carmo in eighth, and it's Pedro Dean and Victor Miranda who rounds us out. What a great evening here at Mount Panorama, folks. A thoroughly enjoyable evening of AMX 15 action. And of course, if you want more AMX action during our week break and just during the midweek days, check out all our social media channels, which can be found below. You can see them underneath myself and Kevin. But that is it. We shall see you in 2 Saturdays' time. Or maybe at the ADAC Sim Racing Expo. Well, me and Kevin won't, but you might see some of our AMX crew there. But folks, thank you very much for joining us. From Kevin Garcia and from myself, Evan Dalton, we wish you the best. Stay safe, stay well, and we shall see you next time.